Chapter 3121 The Jalan treasure ship has officially arrived. This day, Yi Tian obtained a piece of information from a peak realm god of the supreme power of the Two Realms sect, and of course he also paid an extra-dimensional resource for this piece of information. This piece of information is about the Jalan treasure ship transaction. It can be said that only the supreme forces know about this matter. Of course, the peak world gods among the few top forces also know it, but they are not qualified to enter the Jalan treasure ship, because if you want to enter the Jalan treasure ship, you must have a certain net worth. If you are too a poor peak world god will naturally not be able to enter. With the Jalan treasure ship transaction, no wonder Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace would let those high-level world gods enter the super-dimensional treasure land, and even secretly wanted to acquire the resources of those high-level world gods, but they didn't agree. Yi Tian murmured. Obviously, Taihao Tianchao Palace also wants to use these resources to enter the Jalan treasure ship and trade many good things. According to the information Yi Tian obtained from the Two Realms Gate, the Jalan treasure ship is a super-dimensional treasure ship that comes here every other super-dimensional era, but it has been coming here quite frequently recently. Once the Jalan treasure ship arrives, any world god with enough wealth can board the ship for trading. Whether it's a world god or a demon species, the Jalan treasure ship will not refuse anyone who comes. Of course, if the demons choose to enter the Jalan treasure ship, they must restrain their aura and not affect the creatures on the Jalan treasure ship, otherwise the consequences will be very serious. Rumor has it that the Jalan treasure ship came from the very distant Death Void region and crossed numerous dangers before arriving here. Wherever the Jalan treasure ship came from, the supreme forces could not go, and there were too many dangers that they could not handle. There was once a supreme force that followed the Jalan treasure ship. As a result, not only could they not keep up with the speed, but they also encountered various dangers along the way and were almost wiped out. Since then, no supreme force has dared to leave with the Jalan treasure ship. The reason why the Jalan treasure ship can survive countless dangers is not only that the Jalan treasure ship is an extremely powerful super-dimensional secret technique, but more importantly, there is an extra-dimensional person on the Jalan treasure ship who transcends the peak world god. It is precisely because of the existence of this extra-dimensional realm that most of the dangers of the Death Void can be ignored. But even so, the Jalan treasure ship has a specific route and does not dare to walk randomly in the void of death. Obviously, the extra-dimensional realm is not truly safe in the Death Void. However, there is no doubt that without the cultivation of the extra-dimensional realm, one cannot explore much distance in the Death Void and can only huddle in a small area. There are countless death voids in small places such as the Eternal Realm, the World God Realm, and the Demonic Abyss. The Jalan treasure ship enters these areas and trades with the indigenous world gods in these areas to obtain various resources. In this way, there is no need to take risks, and you can make a lot of money in one transaction. Jalan treasure ship. Yi Tian is very interested in this transaction. Perhaps in this transaction, he can see a lot, trade more good things and even inherit them, so that he will not be ignorant about cultivation. Therefore, he must seize this trading opportunity. Certainly, he must collect enough resources, otherwise he would not be qualified to trade. However, once I go to trade, it will inevitably be exposed that I possess a large amount of super-dimensional resources. Even Taihao Tianchao Palace may suspect that I have taken away the resources from the super-dimensional treasure land. Yi Tian secretly said. However, as long as he quickly improves his strength, he will ignore this danger. Taihao Tianchao Palace is only in the middle ranks among the supreme forces. As long as his strength improves again, he may not be afraid of Taihao Tianhe official. Moreover, Taihao Tianchao Palace has no evidence, so it may not offend him. If he trades a powerful life-saving item on the Jalan treasure ship, he won't have to fear Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace. There are still about 20 billion era years left, so let's explore the Death Void like crazy. Yi Tian decided. He was not originally prepared to sacrifice his replica body to explore the Death Void crazily, but now he must do so. So, in the following days, Yi Tian's cloned bodies began to explore the Death Void from all directions. Certainly, the distances he explored were relatively far to prevent him from encountering the peak world gods of other supreme forces. It's a pity that he can't copy the body of an extra-dimensional creature, otherwise it would be much easier. As for the Death Void, except for extra-dimensional creatures, there are no other creatures. Therefore, he can only rely on his own body to explore. Because there are too many dangerous places in the Death Void, his cloned body died again and again. You know, his cloned body is already comparable to the peak world god, and it is a very powerful peak world god, but in this case, he falls again and again. Fortunately, his replica body that was fused with extra-dimensional things has not died, and he rarely uses such a replica body to explore. He will only use it when he encounters super-dimensional creatures that are not weak in strength but will not surpass him. Such a copy of the body. Years pass. Yi Tian obtained more and more resources from the Death Void, but there were also many fallen replica bodies. If each copied body is replaced by a peak world god, no supreme force can afford such a loss, and it cannot even gather so many peak world gods. Only Yi Tiantian can sustain such a loss. Time flies. More than 10 billion Zidao era years have passed. At this time, Yi Tian had collected a large amount of extra-dimensional resources, and secretly used a few resources to cultivate a large number of high-level world gods. However, he did not let these high-level world gods go out to explore, and they were all hidden deep in the human temple. Practice there. At the same time, his wife and children also used a large amount of resources to refine the eternal Tao seed to the limit again, preparing to condense the ninth eternal world spirit. Once the breakthrough is successful, the cultivation level will be the same as Yi Tian. But Yi Tian has not yet reached the limit of a high-level world god. His eternal Tao seed is still far away from reaching the limit. It is estimated that it will take another 20 billion Tao era years before he can raise his eternal Tao seed to the limit. Soon after, Yi Tian's wife and children have made breakthroughs one after another, and their cultivation levels have reached the level of high-level peak world gods. Unknowingly, the day for the arrival of the Jalan treasure ship is getting closer and closer. At this time, the peak world gods no longer explore the Death Void. If they encounter danger during this period, or are trapped somewhere and cannot come out, wouldn't they miss the Galan treasure ship transaction? Therefore, they quietly waited for the arrival of the Jalan treasure ship. Only Yi Tian is still exploring the Death Void, and he has explored very far away, and naturally he has gained a lot. This day, the Jalan treasure ship has officially arrived. Chapter 3122 Superdimensional Tao Seed Inheritance. In the silent void of death, a huge treasure ship came and passed near the territory of an extra-dimensional creature. If it were normal, if the peak world god dared to approach it, he would definitely be killed instantly by it. However, when it saw the Jalan treasure ship, it trembled all over and fled from the confines of its lair in fear. This is the deterrent of the Galan treasure ship. Ordinary extra-dimensional creatures would not dare attack the Galan treasure ship. Soon, the Jalan treasure ship approached the area near the boundary of the realm of gods, and then stopped at a specific place, where it always stopped every time. Before the Jalan treasure ship arrived, a group of peak world gods had already arrived and immediately boarded the ship. Eternal Borders. Yi Tian naturally also got the news and knew that the Jalan treasure ship was coming, so he immediately entered the Death Void from the craft controlled by the human race, and brought almost all the extra-dimensional resources with him. Wow! Yi Tian shuttled along a safe route and quickly arrived at the location of the Jalan treasure ship. What a huge treasure ship! Yi Tian was surprised. Compared with this Jalan treasure ship, Zumi World God's boundless sailing ship is undoubtedly a small broken ship, and the difference is like the difference between a luxury ship and a small wooden ship. Moreover, the energy emitted by this Galan treasure ship far exceeded any extra-dimensional creature he had seen in the past. This Galan treasure ship alone could probably crush those extra-dimensional creatures. I don't know what the level of power behind this Galan treasure ship is. Yi Tian thought secretly. Wow! He came to the entrance of the Jalan treasure ship, where two peak world gods were guarding. When Yi Tian approached these two peak world gods, he sensed the terrifying aura on the other side, which was much stronger than his own. Such a peak world god was only a guard on the Jalan treasure ship, and his status was obviously not very high. Please take out the Galamba card. One of the peak world gods said. Two peak world gods, I did not apply for the Jalanbao card. Yi Tian said. The Galan treasure card is a resource card issued by the Galan treasure ship. It is similar to the bank cards on Earth. It can store some resources, and the approximate value can be directly displayed by appraising the resources. In this way, we know how much wealth each peak world god brings. If AFEC does not meet the standard, then naturally he will not be allowed to enter the Jalan treasure ship. Come and apply for a Jalanbao card with me, a peak world god said. Yi Tian nodded and followed the other party to apply for the Jalanbao card. Soon, the application for the Jalanbao card was completed, and then Yi Tian was asked to put some extra-dimensional resources into it. Yi Tian followed suit and put in some extra-dimensional resources, but not all of them. In an instant, a number appeared on the Jalanbao card. 87,903. Seeing so many numbers, the two peak world gods were extremely surprised. Please come in. They no longer stopped Yi Tian and let Tian go in. Although it is strange for a high-level world god to have so many Galan treasure coins, they are just gatekeepers and do not care about other things. As long as the number of super dimension treasure coins exceeds 1,000, they can enter the Galan treasure ship for transactions. In this way, Yi Tian easily entered the Jalan treasure ship. As soon as he entered the Jalan treasure ship, Yi Tian sensed a large number of peak world gods. As for high-level world gods, there are some here, but the number is very small. They are all brought in by the peak world gods to see the world, and they are not really here to trade. Suddenly, a voice sounded, Yi Tian realm god, I didn't expect you to come to the Galan treasure ship. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure appeared next to Yi Tian. It was the Zumi world god. I've seen the Sumeru realm god. Yi Tian said politely. Zumi realm god stared at Yi Tian with a very puzzled look. I'm very curious about how you entered the Galan treasure ship. You can't enter here without a net worth of 1,000 Galan treasure coins. And what you obtained in the super dimension treasure land, the resources are less than 1,000 Galan coins. I was very lucky. I found a crack passage into the death void, and then entered the death void again. I was also lucky, and found a treasure land, and then I obtained a lot of extra dimensional resources. Then I followed the peak world of the two world gates. The god made a deal to obtain the information about the Jalan treasure ship, that's all. Yi Tian said. However, the Sumeru realm god did not completely believe it. At this moment, he even suspected that the resources of the super-dimensional treasure land had been taken away, and it might even have something to do with Yi Tian. Of course, he did not think that Yi Tian had taken away the resources of the super-dimension treasure land on his own. Perhaps Yi Tian had cooperated with some supreme forces to take away the resources there. As for the details, he couldn't guess. However, it's hard for him to say anything now, after all, he has no evidence. Moreover, this is the Jalan treasure ship. No one is allowed to cause trouble here, otherwise they will be severely punished by the Jalan treasure ship and will never be allowed to enter here. Ever since, the Sumeru realm god left directly. Yi Tian also knew that the Sumeru realm god was doubting him, but he felt it didn't matter. Soon, he saw the peak world god of the two world gates, the multi-dimensional world god. At the beginning, he learned the information about the Jalan treasure ship from the mouth of the multi-dimensional world god. Yi Tian realm god, you are here. The multidimensional realm god came over. The Jalan treasure ship will sell various resources and inheritance, and you can exchange them for as long as you pay the corresponding resource treasures. You can look around and find the right ones. Trading. Okay, Yi Tian responded. Afterwards, he walked around. There are many places to sell resources on the Jalanbao ship. There are so many resources here, and they even sell various inheritances, such as the inheritance of the perfect eternal world spirit. They are also sold here, and only more than 100 Jalanbao are needed. Just coins. Of course, the peak world gods who come here are all buying the treasures they need. It is impossible to be willing to spend more than 100 Galan treasure coins to buy a perfect eternal world spirit inheritance. Soon, Yi Tian was attracted by the inheritance. Superdimensional Dao seed. However, the price of ultra-dimensional Dao species is terrifying. Just the most common super-dimensional Dao seed inheritance requires a full 10,000 Galan coins, which ordinary peak world gods cannot afford. Moreover, the inheritance value of ordinary super-dimensional Dao seeds is not high, and Yi Tian naturally doesn't like it, and the inheritance of top super-dimensional Dao seeds has reached the level of hundreds of thousands of Jalan treasure coins. Hundreds of thousands of Galan treasure coins. I will use all other resources to estimate that I can reach such a standard. Yi Tian frowned and thought. In this case, wouldn't he be able to purchase only one copy of the top super-dimensional Dao seed inheritance? Of course that won't work. After all, he doesn't need the inheritance of the super-dimensional Dao seed yet, and he doesn't understand what the inheritance of the super-dimensional Dao seed is. Later, he spent dozens of Galan coins to purchase a piece of information about the super-dimensional Taoism and the cultivation of the super-dimensional realm. Chapter 3123 Jalan Treasure Clothes, Jalan Treasure Liquid. After purchasing the information, Yi Tian finally knew what the super-dimensional Taoist species represented. To become a super-dimensional realm, you must condense the super-dimensional Dao seed. The super-dimensional Dao seed is the step-by-step transformation of the eternal Dao seed using the power of extra-dimensionality. After condensing the super-dimensional Dao seed, you can then construct the super-dimensional Dao body. Only then can one truly advance to the extra-dimensional realm. Yi Tian completely understood. In short, completely mastering the power of the extra-dimensional is only the first step. After mastering it, you must condense the super-dimensional Tao seeds and construct the super-dimensional Tao body, and then you can reach the super-dimensional realm. As for the level of cultivation at the peak world god realm, it is not certain how many eternal world spirits can be condensed. In short, as long as 12 eternal world spirits are condensed, you can start to attack the extra-dimensional realm. But obviously, the 12 eternal world spirits are only the minimum standard. If there is potential, it would be better to gather more eternal world spirits. However, if the super-dimensional Tao seed is condensed, there is no way to condense the eternal world spirit. This sequence must be known. Otherwise, once you condense the super-dimensional Tao seeds and want more eternal world spirits, it will be too late to regret. It seems that we must purchase the inheritance of super-dimensional Tao seeds in the future, but the super-dimensional Tao seeds are too precious. I don't know if those supreme forces have redeemed the inheritance of super-dimensional Tao seeds. Even if they did, they would probably only buy ordinary super-dimensional Tao seeds. This inheritance, the top super-dimensional Tao inheritance, they may not be willing to buy it. Yi Tian thought so. Moreover, none of the pinnacle world gods among the supreme forces has completely controlled the power of extra dimensions. Wherever they are qualified to condense the super-dimensional Tao seeds, they just put them there. Therefore, without truly mastering the power of extra dimensions, purchasing the inheritance of extra-dimensional Taoism is undoubtedly a waste of time. Originally, Yi Tian had the idea of purchasing the super-dimensional Tao seed inheritance, but now that he thought about it, he decided not to do so. After all, he is still too far away from condensing super-dimensional Tao seeds, and there is no need to spend all his wealth to purchase it. At present, it is better to buy inheritance and treasures that suit you as much as possible. Buy the treasures suitable for life-saving first. Yi Tian decided. He is not worried about his own safety. He has many cloned bodies. Even if he is targeted by the supreme power Taihao Tianqiao Palace, it is impossible to kill all the cloned bodies. However, once they were defeated, the human race would not be able to stop Taihao Tianqiao Palace. Therefore, he must openly let Taihao Tianqiao Palace know that they cannot kill him, and buying life-saving items in a big way on the Galan treasure ship is undoubtedly the best choice. Immediately, he kept looking for something suitable for his life. Finally, he found a life-saving thing suitable for him in an area of Jalan treasure ship. Super-dimensional secret treasury Jalan treasure clothes. This should be a kind of super-dimensional secret treasure refined by the force where the Jalan treasure ship belongs. Any super-dimensional secret treasure can be refined, but if you want to refine the desired super-dimensional secret treasure, you must have the corresponding forging method. The Jalan treasure clothes is very useful. Not only does it have an extremely powerful defensive effect, it can also stimulate a beam of Jalan light, instantly turning it into a Jalan light and escaping. Its speed is already comparable to a half-step into the super-dimensional realm. Such a life-saving thing is naturally expensive. 100,000 Galan treasure coins. It can be said that many peak world gods cannot collect so many Galan coins. But Yi Tian could get it together. As for whether it is worth buying, it is definitely worth it. Therefore, Yi Tian quickly took out various extra-dimensional resources and exchanged them at the place where the Jalan treasure ship exchanged Jalan treasure coins. In a short time, he collected 100,000 Jalan treasure coins, and then he went there with great fanfare to compete with the people selling Jalan treasure clothes at a high price. The peak world god of Jalan treasure ship bargained. This action naturally attracted many peak world gods. After all, almost no peak world god can afford a treasure worth 100,000 Galan coins. Only the supreme power can afford it in the name of power, but they rarely buy it. Such a treasure. It's Yi Tianji god. Is he buying Jalan treasure clothes? The Sumeru realm god was shocked. At this moment, he truly confirmed his previous guess. Yi Tian must have taken away all the resources of that super-dimensional treasure land, otherwise he would never be able to collect 100,000 Jalan treasure clothes. Galan treasure clothes. This extra-dimensional secret treasure is worth 100,000 Galan treasure coins, and his Wuya sailing boat is actually worth only 2,000 to 3,000 Galan treasure coins at most. Even he can't afford Jalan Baoyi. 0. Please give me flowers. Soon, Yi Tian returned hundreds of Jalan treasure coins and successfully purchased Jalan treasure clothes. Then, Yi Tian secretly refined the Jalan treasure clothes and continued to look at other treasures. Seeing this, Zumi realm god and other peak realm gods of Taihao Tianqiao Palace frowned slightly. They knew very well that if Yi Tian possessed the Jalan treasure clothes, they would be unable to do anything to Yi Tian. Once they attacked and killed him, they would offend Yi Tian. If Yi Tianri becomes stronger in the future, it will be a disaster for Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace. There is no need to attack and kill an unkillable world god. Unless a good opportunity is found in the future, it will be the best opportunity to attack Yi Wu. After Yi Tian purchased the Jalan treasure clothes, he quickly took a fancy to another item, the super-dimensional secret treasure map scroll. This super-dimensional secret treasure atlas records a total of more than a dozen methods for refining super-dimensional secret treasures. Its value is quite good and can be used as the foundation of a supreme power. Any super-dimensional secret treasure is extremely important to the supreme power. Even if the ones recorded above are ordinary super-dimensional secret treasures, they are still worth buying. Moreover, Yi Tian was able to obtain a lot of extra-dimensional materials from the Death Void, so he needed the method of refining extra-dimensional secret treasures. Ever since, he bought this super-dimensional secret treasure map scroll. Of course, the value of this super-dimensional secret treasure map is not low, and it cost Yi Tian more than 60,000 Jalan treasure coins. Then, Yi Tian spent a lot of Jalan treasure coins to purchase a resource that was extremely suitable for tempering the eternal Dao seed. Although there are many resources in the Death Void that can help refine the eternal Dao seed, there are no such resources in this area, and the Jalan treasure ship found them from other areas. This extra-dimensional resource is called Jalan Baoye. Maybe it didn't have this name in the past, but now it's called Jalan Baoye. A drop of Jalan treasure liquid is worth 300 Jalan treasure coins, and Yi Tian bought 300 drops of Jalan treasure liquid in one go, spending a full 90,000 Jalan treasure coins. This generous move attracted many peak world gods. They all focused on Yi Tian, but they also knew that Yi Tian had Jalan treasure clothes and could save his life even after he went out, so they quickly extinguished their intention to attack Yi Tian. Thoughts are dead. Chapter 3124 Ship Following Quota and Employee Quota. There are really a lot of good things on the Jalan treasure ship, including various inheritances, various super-dimensional secret treasures, and various precious resources. Yi Tian wished he could buy all the resources, but unfortunately he didn't have that many Galan coins. There are some resources that even he can't afford. In addition, there are many resources that can help suppress extra-dimensional assimilation, and many top world gods of supreme power are purchasing such resources. For example, a resource called Jalan Baoden is a super-dimensional elixir refined from various precious resources, which can suppress the situation of super-dimensional assimilation. Many peak world gods who have integrated extra-dimensional things are suffering from the assimilation influence of extra-dimensional things. If they take Jalan Baoden, they will last for a long time. You know, some of the world gods at the peak of the supreme power can no longer hold on and are in urgent need of this kind of Jalan Baodan. However, this super-dimensional level pill, 997, medicine has the best effect the first time it is taken. If you take it more often, the effect will also be greatly reduced. But even if the effect is worse, for these peak world gods who have integrated extra-dimensional things, it is okay to persist for a while. Maybe they will completely master the power of extra-dimensional things, then the problem will be completely solved, and there is no need to worry about extra-dimensional things. Assimilation problem. As time goes by, all the peak world gods are trading here. However, Yi Tian was very confused as to why he didn't see the demon species. Doesn't it mean that demons are also allowed to enter here? But soon, he learned the reason from other peak world gods. Demonic species were indeed allowed to come, but not here, but in another area, an area dedicated to special creatures. Moreover, the needs of the demon species are also different from those of the peak world gods, and conflicts can easily break out when put together. That's why the Jalan treasure ship is this. Seeing this, Yi Tian was no longer curious. Soon after, the peak world gods almost spent all the Galan treasure coins they had, and only a handful of peak world gods still had a lot of Galan treasure coins. But they did not leave, but waited for a special moment. After a while, a special building on the Jalanbao ship opened, and a peak world god entered. Yi Tian already knew what was going on here. This was a small auction of the Jalan treasure ship, and only 2 items were auctioned. However, every peak world god wants to bid, but most of the peak world gods are not qualified to bid, and can only be used as foils to watch. Yi Tian also walked in and sat down on a seat. The other peak world gods also sat down one by one, waiting for the Galan auction to begin. Soon, the person in charge of Jalan auction appeared on the auction stage, and his powerful aura far surpassed other peak world gods. Yi Tian was secretly surprised that he could sense the terrifying aura on the other party's body. It is definitely the pinnacle world god who has condensed the 13 eternal world spirits, and it is very likely that he has completely mastered the power of extra dimensions. Yi Tian thought to himself. Such a peak world god is enough to sweep all the peak world gods present. Dear friends from territory number 7362, this time our Jalan treasure ship will auction 3 ship following quotas and 1 Jalan treasure ship employee quota. Said the peak world god of the Jalan treasure ship. The ship following quota, as the name suggests, means that once you get such a quota, you can stay on the Jalan treasure ship, and then when the Jalan treasure ship goes to other territories, you can board or disembark in one of them. In this way, you can completely leave your own territory and go to a more powerful territory to seek more opportunities and hopes. The employee quota of Jalan treasure ship is even more precious. Once you get one, you will directly become one of the employees of Jalan treasure ship. This is also the opportunity that every peak world god dreams of. You can actually become an employee of Jalan treasure ship. I have to say that Yi Tian was a little moved. After all, if you become an employee of the Jalan treasure ship, you can follow the Jalan treasure ship to any territory, and there will be many opportunities in the future. Moreover, he also has many replica bodies, and he can just send any replica body at will, and it won't affect anything. But the next moment, he was completely uninterested in the employee quota of Jalan treasure ship. Because he knew from the discussions of other peak world gods that once he became an employee of the Jalan treasure ship, he must establish the strictest experiment and be loyal to the forces behind the Jalan treasure ship for life. He must not have the slightest idea of AA betrayal, and he must obey the orders of the Jalan treasure ship. Arrange. Yi Tian would naturally not make such a vow, otherwise he would never be able to get rid of the Jalan treasure ship in the future, and even other cloned bodies would be affected by the Jalan treasure ship, and his secrets might be exposed. However, other peak world gods do not care about this. They are still eager to become employees of the Jalan treasure ship, even if they pay a high price. After all, once you become an employee of the Jalan treasure ship, you will at least have the hope of controlling the power of extra dimensions in the future, and you will also have the hope of becoming an extra-dimensional realm. Not only that, you can also go to countless territories and see more places, and it's still safe. In this area, the peak world god will fall somewhere in the void of death at any time. Therefore, for them, the advantages of joining the Jalan treasure ship far outweigh the disadvantages. The auction for the first place to follow the Jalan treasure ship will begin next. The starting price is 100,000 Jalan treasure coins. The auctioneer of the Jalan treasure ship said. In an instant, many peak world gods began to bid. 100,000 Jalan treasure coins is indeed a lot, but some peak world gods have accumulated it for countless years. Even if they accumulate the resources of 100 Jalan treasure coins in the 10 billion Dao era, they can save some in their daily practice and rely on long years to get it together. Therefore, there is definitely a peak world god with tens of millions of sapphire coins. Moreover, some peak demons also have a wealth of more than 100,000 gallon bao and 0.8 coins, and they will also bid for this spot. Yi Tian watched the peak world gods and peak demon species competing for the quota of the Jalan treasure ship, and had no intention of participating. 110,000 Jalan coins. 120,000 Jalan coins. 130,000 Jalan coins. As time passed, the bidding price for the ship following spot had soared to more than 200,000 Jalanbao coins. At this moment, Yi Tiansai knew that there were quite a few peak world gods with more wealth than him, and they were all hidden deeply and would only be revealed at critical moments. In the end, a peak realm god from the 2 realms came up with 250,000 Jalan treasure coins to bid for this spot. After that, the remaining 2 ship following quotas were also auctioned. Chapter 3125 Superdimensional Storm. The final transaction price for the second place was not as high as the first place, and only 240,000 Galamba coins were auctioned. However, the bidding for the third ship following quota, which was also the last ship following quota, was even more exaggerated, with a total of 270,000 Galan treasure coins auctioned. Obviously, some peak world gods have not been bidding with all their strength. They have become anxious when they see that the quota is almost gone, so the auction price for the third quota will be the highest. The 3 ship following quotas are over, and the next step is the employee quota. This is the most important auction. The next auction is for the staff quota of our Galan treasure ship. The starting price is 200,000 Galan treasure coins. The auctioneer said. 200,000 Galamba coins is undoubtedly very high. It is already comparable to the price of a ship following quota, and it is only the starting price. The real transaction price must be higher than this price. But there are only a few peak world gods who are actually bidding. After all, there are not many peak world gods who really want to become employees of the Jalan treasure ship. 05. For some peak world gods, becoming an employee of the Jalan treasure ship will undoubtedly be subject to some restrictions. It is better to follow the ship's quota. At least it is full of unlimited future. There may be hope of joining someone more powerful than the Jalan treasure ship, and there is no one yet. Such a big constraint. But some peak world gods don't want to take risks anymore, and it would be better to become employees of the Jalan treasure ship. It can only be said that every peak world god's choice is different. Soon, the bidding began. In a short time, the bidding price soared to 300,000. 400,000, 500,000. Obviously, these peak world gods have accumulated a lot of resources. But this kind of resource is not a resource of a power, but a personal resource. After all, once the bidding is successful, it will be completely separated from the supreme power. If the supreme power will provide resources, then it will be nothing. Although the peak world god became an employee of the Jalan treasure ship and could come back, even if he came back, he would not recognize the original supreme power, nor would he bring any help to the original supreme power. There are even some peak world gods who will completely abandon the supreme power they belong to, showing no mercy at all. Rumor has it that a long time ago, a supreme power spent a lot of resources to buy a place on the Jalan treasure ship for a peak world god. In the end, nothing was gained, and the power even weakened. Since then, no supreme power has done such a thing. Soon, the bidding price had soared to 800,000 Jalanbao coins. Seeing this, the peak world god of Jalan treasure ship was very happy. In the end, a peak demon species won the quota for the Jalan treasure ship with a bidding price of 870,000 Jalan treasure coins. A job as a Jalan treasure ship employee costs 870,000 Jalan treasure coins, which is too expensive. Yi Tian secretly said, even if he spends all his wealth, he can't afford such a place. Of course, he won't buy it either. Originally, after the Jalan treasure ship's employee quotas were auctioned, the auction ended, which also marked the official end of the Jalan treasure ship transaction. They would need to leave from the Jalan treasure ship, and the Jalan treasure ship would also leave from here and go to the Jalan treasure ship, other territories. But at this time, the peak world god of the Jalan treasure ship said again, fellow world gods, the next time our Jalan treasure ship will arrive is 1/10 of an extra-dimensional era later. 1/10 of a super-dimensional era. Many peak world gods were extremely shocked. This time interval is too short. According to this time interval, in an extra-dimensional era, the Jalan treasure ship will come 10 times, which is earlier than before. Of course, this is a good thing. These world gods at the pinnacle of the supreme power are eager to see the Jalan treasure ship come often. It would be better if they stayed here all the time. 1/10 of a super-dimensional era, that's not too long. Yi Tian secretly said. The calculation method of the extra-dimensional era is a time calculation method of the death void. One extra-dimensional era is equivalent to 100 million extra-dimensional epochs, and one extra-dimensional epoch is equivalent to 100 million ultra-dimensional era years. 1/10 of the extra-dimensional era is 1 quadrillion to the Tao era. For Yi Tian, tens of billions of ultimate era years are not short, and 1 trillion ultimate era years are an extremely long time. But for those peak world gods, only 1 trillion ultimate era years are not considered short. What? However, at this time, the peak world god of the Jalan treasure ship said again, of course, 1/10 of the extra-dimensional era is just an estimate. It may be advanced by some years, but it will definitely not be delayed. Moreover, the next arrival will also be for the last time. We will sell more ship following quotas and Jalanbao ship employee quotas. What, the last time? These peak world gods and peak demon species were all stunned. If I had known it was the last time, they would have definitely competed desperately just now. Yi Tian also frowned, not understanding what the Jalan treasure ship was doing. If this news was revealed before the auction, the bidding would become extremely fierce. No matter which place was chosen, it would probably cost more than 1 million Jalan treasure ship. Isn't this an obvious opportunity to make money? Why doesn't Jalan treasure ship care? Perhaps, the Jalan treasure ship really doesn't care about the mere hundreds of thousands of Jalan treasure coins, and no matter how many resources these peak world gods and peak demon species accumulate, they will all participate in the bidding crazily for the last time, and they are not in a hurry to harvest this time. Lord Chenming Realm God, why is the next time for the Jalan treasure ship the last time? A peak world god asked. This Chenming Realm God is the peak realm god in charge of the auction. He said truthfully, "It's not that we don't want to come, but that your area will usher in a super-dimensional storm after 1/10 of the super-dimensional era. That is a storm coming from the ultra-dimensional void. In the ultra-dimensional storm, our Galan treasure ship does not dare to come over, otherwise we will definitely die." Super-dimensional storm. All the peak world gods were extremely confused. They didn't know what a superdimensional storm was. This was the first time they had heard of it. However, they wanted to continue asking, but the Chenming realm god was unwilling to answer. However, every peak world god can still purchase a piece of extra-dimensional storm information from the Galan treasure ship, and each world god only needs to pay 1,000 Galan treasure coins. Yi Tian was also very curious about the super-dimensional storm, so he immediately purchased a piece of information. Even if it is a piece of information, you need to make an oath not to spread it to others. Otherwise, if you only sell one copy, everyone will know it. Only in this way can many copies be sold. After buying the information, he now had enough understanding of the super-dimensional storm, and finally understood why the Jalan treasure ship did not dare to come. Chapter 3126 Refining the Star-Winged Six-Armed Shield. The extra-dimensional storm is very scary. According to the data, as long as one does not truly control the power of the extra-dimensional, he will not be able to withstand the extra-dimensional storm and will fall into the ultra-dimensional storm in an instant. But even if one masters the power of extra dimensions, if one does not condense the super-dimensional Tao seeds, his strength will still not be able to survive the extra-dimensional storm for too long. Moreover, even if it can really resist the extra-dimensional storm, there is no way to explore the death void. The speed is too slow and it is almost stagnant in one place. There is almost no point in exploring the death void. And the super-dimensional storm lasts for a long time, probably for 1 or 2 super-dimensional epochs, and during the super-dimensional storm, resources are extremely scarce within a dozen extra-dimensional epochs. In other words, within dozens of extra-dimensional epochs, this area has no value. Naturally, the Jalan treasure ship has no interest in coming here and will not come again until at least 100 extra-dimensional epochs. This is also the reason why the Jalan treasure ship has been coming here frequently in recent years, and it is also to make up for the losses later. The territory where Yi Tian and the others are located is territory number 7362. There are several nearby territories that are within the scope of the super-dimensional storm and will be affected. Soon, those peak world gods who purchased the information on the extra-dimensional storm all frowned. What they are worried about now is whether the extra-dimensional storm will have an impact on the eternal realm and the realm of gods. If even the eternal realm cannot withstand it and is destroyed by the extra-dimensional storm, they will definitely die. However, they quickly purchased another piece of information from the Galan treasure ship, which was that there was nothing going on in the eternal border. At most, it would cause more cracks in the eternal border, which would lead to a small number of extra-dimensional storm forces blowing into the eternal border. As long as the formation is deployed in time to resist the escaping extra-dimensional storm, everything will be fine. As for what formation can withstand these escaping extra-dimensional storms, it is naturally an extra-dimensional formation, which needs to be arranged with the help of extra-dimensional objects as the cornerstone of the formation. And such an ultra-dimensional formation is very valuable. However, those supreme forces still spent a large amount of Jalan treasure coins to purchase a set of ultra-dimensional formations. Yi Tian had no choice. He still had human beings who needed protection, and he had to buy a set of extra-dimensional formations. So, he still spent 100,000 Jalan treasure coins to purchase a very powerful extra-dimensional formation, Star Dimension Virtual Heaven Formation. This formation requires 6 extra-dimensional objects as its foundation. Once it is successfully deployed, the defensive effect is very terrifying and the resistance to extra-dimensional storms is also very good. However, it only requires 6 peak world gods to maintain the operation of the formation for a long time. But when the super-dimensional storm arrives, it should be no problem for the human race to gather 6 peak world gods, but it is really impossible to do so. His own 6 copies of the body will definitely meet the conditions. After a while, those supreme forces all purchased the super-dimensional formation inheritance. At this time, the Jalan treasure ship allowed these peak world gods to disembark. Wow wow wow, these world gods and demon species left the Jalan treasure ship one after another and returned to the eternal realm and the demon species abyss. No conflict broke out between the two sides. The Jalan treasure ship also turned into a blue light and disappeared into the void of death. The next time the Jalan treasure ship arrives will be 1/10 of the extra-dimensional era. Eternal Borders. Yi Tian is back. This time, he was very satisfied with the Jolin treasure ship transaction. Not only did he buy the treasures he needed, but he also gained more knowledge. Moreover, he has already refined the ultra-dimensional secret treasure Jolin Baoyi, so he is not afraid of Taihao Tianchao Palace dealing with him. However, he also has to be careful of other supreme forces. In another tenth of the extra-dimensional era, the extra-dimensional storm will come. Those peak world gods who have integrated extra-dimensional things will not be able to persist for dozens of extra-dimensional epochs. They will definitely collect extra-dimensional resources frantically. Purchase ship following quotas are employee quotas in the next Galan treasure ship transaction. And how to collect super-dimensional resources crazily. If you collect them slowly, it will be too slow. The best way is to snatch them. And he is only a high-level peak world god. This time he has shown a lot of wealth, and maybe a lot of wealth, which will definitely attract many peak world gods. However, there is still some time before the next Jolin treasure ship arrives. The peak world god among these supreme forces will definitely not take action immediately. He still has time to prepare. I must raise my cultivation level to the peak realm god as soon as possible. Once my cultivation level breaks through, I will no longer be afraid of those supreme forces. Yi Tian murmured. In the coming years, he had several things to do. The first is to set up the star dimension void sky formation. This extra-dimensional formation must be set up, otherwise there will be no way to counter the escaping power of the extra-dimensional storm in the future. The second one is to refine the super-dimensional secret treasure. He bought the super-dimensional secret treasure map scroll, which records more than a dozen methods of refining the super-dimensional secret treasure. If all of them are refined, it will naturally be a huge improvement to his strength, prosperous. But whether it is setting up the star dimension void sky formation or refining the super-dimensional secret treasure, a large amount of materials are required. However, Yi Tian still lacks some materials and must gather them as soon as possible to facilitate refining. Therefore, in the following days, Yi Tian continued to explore the death void, trying to gather these extra-dimensional materials. In this way, one era after another passed. In the blink of an eye, tens of billions of pure years have passed. This day, Yi Tian finally gathered the materials needed for one of the super-dimensional secret treasures. This super-dimensional secret treasure is called the Star Wing Six-Armed Shield. It has two forms. The first form can be turned into a pair of wings, making itself extremely fast. The second form can be turned into a shield to protect the whole body, has an extremely powerful defensive effect. Of course, the Star Wing's six-armed shield is still not as good as the defensive effect and escape effect of Jolin Baoyi. The two are not on the same level. Super-dimensional secret treasures are also divided into grades. According to the level, Jolin Baoyi is a medium-level super-dimensional secret treasure, while the Star Wing six-armed shield is only a low-level super-dimensional secret treasure after being refined. But, the Star Wing six-armed shield is also helpful to Yi Tian. It can slightly increase his strength and life-saving ability, so he naturally wants to refine it. Soon, Yi Tian started refining the Star Wing six-armed shield. He was very careful and had already understood the refining method of the Star Wing six-armed shield. In addition, he had deduced it in advance to ensure that there would be no mistakes in refining this time. After all, he has only just collected the materials for the Star Wing six-armed shield. If he fails, he will have to continue to collect the missing materials, and it will take a lot of time to collect the next material. Fortunately, he was very lucky. After a long period of refining, he finally refined the Star Wing six-armed shield. Chapter 3127 Crazy Refining of Super-Dimensional Secret Treasures. The Star Wing six-armed shield is a small shield with 6 sides, but this is just its initial appearance. Once the two major forms are activated, the appearance will naturally change significantly. In a flash, this Star Wing six-armed shield was integrated into the sleeves of Jolin Baoyi, surrounding the sleeves and becoming an armed shield. Death Void. Yi Tian is going to test the effect of the Star Wing's six-armed shield here. I saw Yi Tian's other copy of the body attack with all its strength, using only the power of extra dimensions to attack. The extra-dimensional power exerted by fusing extra-dimensional objects is not an extra-dimensional technique, and its attack power is limited, but it is not something that a normal peak world god can contend with. Boom! The extra-dimensional power turned into light and came to kill. Yi Tian instantly activated the Star Wing's six-armed shield on his arm. In an instant, the Star Wing's six-armed shield opened its first form. The six-armed Star Wing shield turned into a huge spherical shield, covering the entire body. The extra-dimensional power attacked the Star Wing's six-armed shield, but only knocked the Star Wing's six-armed shield and Yi Tian away, but did not hurt Yi Tian. What a powerful defense! Yi Tian was very satisfied. It is indeed a complete super-dimensional secret treasure. Even a low-level super-dimensional secret treasure is worth more than the boundless sailing ship of the Sumeru realm god. However, Yi Tian 850 still broke through the super-dimensional secret treasure after attacking many times in succession. Obviously, although the defensive power of the super-dimensional secret treasure Star Wing's six-armed shield is very powerful, it cannot defend all the time and still has its defense limit. Then, Yi Tian tested the second form of the Star Wing's six-armed shield. Wow! The Star Wing's six-armed shield was activated with a thought and appeared on the back, gradually condensing a pair of wings. Immediately afterwards, Yi Tian's speed surged many times. Whoosh! He turned into a ray of light and traveled through the void of death. Of course, he was traveling within the safe area he was exploring, otherwise he would really encounter danger. It would be a trivial matter for the copied body to fall, but it would be a pity to lose the Star Wing's six-armed shield. After the test, Yi Tian returned to the human race Endless Kingdom Alliance at the Eternal Border. Refining the Star Wing's six-armed shield is just the beginning. He can also refine more extra-dimensional secret treasures in the future, as long as he gathers the materials. However, he did not prepare a super-dimensional secret treasure for his relatives, not because he was reluctant to part with it. But for one's relatives, giving them super-dimensional secret treasures currently makes little sense. If the power of the super dimension cannot be activated, the power of the super-dimensional secret treasure cannot be exerted at all, and his relatives do not need to enter the death void, nor do they need to face the threat of the supreme force. It is he who needs the super-dimensional secret treasure more. Another period of time has passed. Yi Tian gathered together the materials needed for another super-dimensional secret treasure. The super-dimensional secret treasure he needed to refine this time was the Ice Orchid Pearl. This super-dimensional secret treasure is an auxiliary healing super-dimensional secret treasure that can make the body recovers extremely quickly when injured. With the Ice Orchid Pearl, the life-saving ability will naturally increase greatly. Then, another period of time passed, and Yi Tian refined the third super-dimensional secret treasure, the Immaculate Eye. This super-dimensional secret treasure was used for spying, insight and assisting in combat, which was enough to enhance his perception to its very terrifying, and if other peak world gods hide and spy on him, he can also use this flawless pupil to instantly see the opponent's position. Although the copying talent can also spy on the surroundings, if the super-dimensional secret treasure is used to hide it, the copying talent cannot break through the hiding of the super-dimensional power. The flawless pupils are also of great use to him. Moreover, the Immaculate Eyes can also assist in combat, which is very useful. After refining these three super-dimensional secret treasures, plus the Jalan treasure clothes, he now has 4 complete super-dimensional secret treasures. However, Yi Tian felt that it was not enough, and he was also preparing to refine more super-dimensional secret treasures, but the materials for other super-dimensional secret treasures were extremely rare, and there seemed to be few of them in this area. Then stack super-dimensional secret treasures, such as the Star Wing's six-armed shield. The materials for this kind of super-dimensional secret treasure are a little easier to find, so then refine a few more Star Wing's six-armed shields. Therefore, in the following days, Yi Tian focused on looking for materials for the Star Wing's six-armed shield. In the next few 100 billion years of the Tao era, Yi Tian finally refined 2 more Star Wing's six-armed shields, and also refined an additional Ice Orchid Pearl. Not only that, he also found many resources that were helpful in tempering the eternal Tao seeds and condensing the eternal world spirits, which were enough for the human race to cultivate more high-level world gods and even peak world gods. 6 trillion years of the ultimate era have passed. Over such a long period of time, the human race has given birth to a large number of high-level world gods. The cultivation levels of Yi Tian's wife and children have also been upgraded to high-level peak world gods, and 9 eternal world spirits have been condensed. Not only that, there are several high-level world gods who have also condensed 9 eternal world spirits, but their foundations are insufficient, and they only cultivate high-level eternal Tao seeds, and their combat effectiveness is average. It belongs to the normal high-level peak world god combat power. As for Yi Tian himself, after using many extra-dimensional resources, the eternal Taoism is very close to the limit of the high-level peak world god. Once he reaches the limit, he will immediately hit the peak world god cultivation level. Over the years, he has found a lot of materials and has refined many super-dimensional secret treasures. Moreover, each of his duplicate bodies is fused with an extra-dimensional object, and each extra-dimensional object has a different ability to use different extra-dimensional techniques. Of course, it's not that he doesn't want to fuse more extra-dimensional things, but fusing a duplicate body with one extra-dimensional thing is almost the limit. If he wants to fuse a second extra-dimensional thing, it will be too easy to cause conflicts, causing the body to explode, open. Therefore, he did not fuse the second extra-dimensional object. However, he also has some understanding that when his cultivation reaches the peak realm god level, there may be hope of integrating the second extra-dimensional object. In short, compared with when he first entered the Jalan treasure ship, his current combat effectiveness has improved a lot. And the ability to save life has undergone an earth-shaking improvement. But now, there is also a troublesome problem. He knew that he seemed to be targeted by the supreme power, and there were more than one. Tai Hao Tianchao Palace, Yonghao World God, Zumi World God and other peak world gods are all here. At this time, the leader Yonghao Realm God said, "Everyone, there is still a lot of time before the last arrival of the Jalan treasure ship, but we still haven't found many resources, even if I am willing to use the extra-dimensional resources stored in Tai Hao Tianchao Palace. If you take it out, you won't be able to buy a few ship-following places. Moreover, when the time comes, the absolute value of a ship-following place will be extremely high. However, after many discussions, we can allocate 30% of the resources to you, but the rest is up to you." Zumi Realm God said at this time, "Yonghao Realm God, fellow realm gods, you will definitely not be able to obtain too many resources by relying on conventional means. It is time to find a way to snatch some resources. Could we start a war with the demonic abyss? But this is not something our family can decide." A peak world god shook his head. "No, as far as I know, the human race Yi Tianji God has cultivated a large number of high-level world gods in these years, and a lot of resources have been spent on them. He definitely has a lot of extra-dimensional resources," Zumi World God said. Chapter 3128 finally took action. The high-level human world god Yi Tian. Many peak world gods were a little moved. Maybe Yi Tianji Shen doesn't have too many resources, but as long as there are, some extra-dimensional resources can be added to them. Moreover, in this period, any extra-dimensional resources are enough to make the peak world god go crazy. In hundreds of extra-dimensional eras, they may not be able to obtain any resources, which means that they may not be able to make progress in hundreds of extra-dimensional eras in the future. In terms of lifespan, they are immortal, but if they are fused with extra-dimensional things, if they cannot suppress the situation of extra-dimensional assimilation, they will not be able to live for hundreds of extra-dimensional eras. In the past, Jalan treasure ships came often, and they could purchase various resource treasures that suppressed extra-dimensional assimilation so that they could survive forever. But if the Jalan treasure ship doesn't come, and the resources in this area have been destroyed by the super-dimensional storm, then they really have no hope. Only those peak world gods who have not merged with extra-dimensional things are not nervous at the moment, but they are also afraid of unexpected situations. During the super-dimensional storm, no one knows whether there will be any greater dangers. If they can leave the realm of gods, they are absolutely willing to leave. Ever since, after their discussion, some peak world gods wanted to attack the people of Yi Tianxia. After all, the human race is not a supreme force and has no background. If it were the pinnacle world god of other supreme forces, they would not dare to take action. As for a high-level peak world god from a top force, they still dare to take action. Of course, they also know very well that Yi Tian cannot be regarded as an ordinary high-level peak world god. Yi Tian's strength is absolutely comparable to that of a peak world god, and he also has the Jalan treasure clothes on his body, and his life-saving ability is very powerful. Everyone, if we attack Yishan world god, how can we restrict his Jalan treasure clothes? Jalan treasure clothes can make him escape in an instant, and we can't even catch up. Asked a peak world god. It's not impossible, Yonghao Ji Shinto. Any solution? Other peak world gods looked at Yonghao world god. Yonghao realm god smiled and said, "Have you forgotten the extra-dimensional formation that we purchased from Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace? The Thousand Suns Eternal Formation." Many peak world gods suddenly realized. The Thousand Suns Eternal Formation is not only a defensive formation, but also a trapping formation that can isolate extra-dimensional forces. If the Thousand Suns Eternal Array is deployed in the human territory, it will inevitably trap Yi Tian and prevent Yi Tian's Jalan treasure clothes from passing through the Thousand Suns Eternal Array. Yonghao Realm God, it is not easy to arrange the Thousand Sun Eternal Array. It takes a lot of time. Once it is deployed near the human race's territory, the human race will definitely find it. By then, Yi Tian is afraid that he will escape early. Zumi Realm God said. Yanghao Realm God said. No, we don't need to set up a complete Thousand Suns eternal formation, we only need to set up a temporary formation, and we don't need to spend many resources. Once we kill Yi Tianji God, we will definitely make a lot of money. Of course, which if the peak world god is willing to participate, the resources can be shared equally. If not, forget it. There are many peak world gods in Taihao Tianchao Palace, and there are indeed some peak world gods who are unwilling to do this and left immediately. In the end, only 16 peak world gods are left sitting here, including the Zumi world gods. Yanghao Realm God is one of them. Next, they began to refine a simple temporary version of the Thousand Suns eternal formation, which they could take directly with them when the time comes. They also know that Yi Tian has many clones, and they don't know which one is the real one, but the human race's extra-dimensional resources and the real body with the Galan treasure clothes must stay in the Human Race Endless Kingdom Alliance, and then they can destroy the entire Human Race Endless Kingdom Alliance. After a period of time, they finally refined a simple temporary version of the Thousand Suns eternal formation. Let's go to the Endless Kingdom Alliance. With our strength, once the Thousand Suns eternal formation is deployed, it will be enough to kill instantly. Yanghaoji Shinto, Human Race, Endless Kingdom Alliance. Yi Tian has already built the Star Dimension Void Heaven formation here, but has not opened it. After all, to activate the Star Dimension Void Heaven formation, 6 peak world gods are needed to fully activate the power of this super dimension factor array. The extra-dimensional storm is still a long time away from coming, so there is no need for him to rush to activate the Star Dimensional Void formation. At this time, each copy of Yi Tian's body is still practicing, and the Human Race Endless Kingdom Alliance is also operating normally. Suddenly, a large formation covers the entire Human Race Endless Kingdom Alliance. Not good. Yi Tian realized that something was wrong. There was definitely a supreme force dealing with him. Of course, he had long been aware of this situation, so he built a large number of formations in the Human Race Endless Kingdom Alliance. 0A Please give me flowers 00. At this moment, he activated these formations with a thought protect humans in the Endless Kingdom Alliance. And one copy of his body shuttled out and activated the flawless eyes. Using the immaculate eyes, he instantly found the peak world gods who were attacking. It's them. Yi Tian recognized the Sumeru Realm God, Yanghao Realm God and the others. There is no doubt that the one who attacked him this time was the supreme power of Taihao Tianchao Palace. Immediately afterwards, his 6 cloned bodies arrived at the key position of the Xingwei Zushan array, and immediately activated the Xingwei Zushan array. Rumble. The entire Star Dimension Virtual Heaven formation has been activated, and this formation can also have isolation and defense effects. 0. This is a super-dimensional formation, and it is a better formation than our Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace Thousand Sun Eternal formation. Yanghao Realm God's expression changed. He knew that Yi Tian purchased the inheritance of super-dimensional formations, but how could a high-level world god collect the materials to arrange the super-dimensional formations? It is not easy for them to build a complete Thousand Suns eternal formation in Taihao Tianchao Palace. A single peak world god, no matter how powerful he is, cannot gather the materials in a short time. And Yi Tian built the Star Dimension Virtual Heaven formation, which undoubtedly broke their cognition. Kill him quickly, Yanghao Realm God reacted. Now is not the time to explore. As long as Yi Tian is killed, this formation will also be theirs. They are inside the formation and don't need to worry about the Star Dimension Void Heaven formation. Boom! More than a dozen peak world gods attacked Yi Tian, and each of them integrated extra-dimensional things and used extra-dimensional methods one after another. Of course, the extra-dimensional techniques they used were all very ordinary extra-dimensional techniques. But their cultivation level is so high. Yanghao Realm God has condensed 12 eternal world spirits, fused 2 extra-dimensional things, and its strength ranks among the most powerful peak world gods in the Realm God Kingdom. It can be said that their combined attack is enough to kill an extremely powerful peak world god, and killing Yi Tian, who is a high-level peak world god, is certainly not an issue. However, they were stunned the next moment. Chapter 3129 The situation is reversed. Star Wing's 6-armed shield, first form, defense activated. Star Wing's 6-armed shields appeared around Yi Tian one after another, forming layer after layer, protecting his whole body. Boom! The blows of many peak world gods bombarded Yi Tian's Star Wing's 6-armed shield, breaking through layers of Star Wing's six-armed shields, but in the end they did not break all the Star Wing's six-armed shields. The peak realm gods of Taihao Tianqiao Palace were all dumbfounded when they saw this scene. This is a super-dimensional secret treasure, Star Wings and six arms. They didn't find it strange when they saw that Yi Tian had a six-armed Star Wing shield, but it was so strange that Yi Tian had so many six-armed Star Wing shields. Damn it, how many materials did Yi Tian obtain to refine so many super-dimensional secret treasures? At this moment, they were all moved. 853, not to mention anything else, these super-dimensional secret treasures alone are worth a lot of Jalan treasure coins. This time, they may have made a lot of money. But the prerequisite is that Yi Tian must be killed. At this moment, Yi Tian also took action, he didn't want to sit still and wait for death. Wow, Yi Tian used the super-dimensional technique. A super-dimensional realm would escape light to rush towards these peak world gods, and also activated the Ice Orchid Pearl, Flawless Eyes, Jalan treasure clothes and other super-dimensional secret treasures, and a super-dimensional light surrounds the surroundings, extremely dazzling. Superdimensional Vine. This extra-dimensional technique burst out instantly, and vines condensed by the extra-dimensional power attacked these peak world gods. However, the strength of these peak world gods is not weak, especially the Yonghao world god, who is so powerful that he shattered many of Yi Tian's super-dimensional vines with a wave of his hand. But Yi Tian is not afraid of these peak world gods. Some peak world gods are still not strong. Puff. The body of a peak world god was pierced by a superdimensional vine, and his body was directly shattered. Even the world god Yonghao had no time to save him. There were also several peak world gods who were also severely injured in an instant. The Sumeru realm god was seriously injured by Yi Tian, and the wounds on his body were difficult to heal. This was an injury caused by extra-dimensional power, and it could not be recovered so easily. How can Yi Tian realm god be so powerful? The Sumeru realm god was shocked. If he had known that Yi Tian was so powerful, he would never have proposed to attack Yi Tian. But now there is no way to end it, and we must try our best to kill Yi Tian. However, these peak world gods attacked Yi Tian with all their strength, but Yi Tian's defense was too abnormal. Suddenly, Yonghao world god came up with an idea: seal him. No matter how strong the defense is, as long as Yi Tian is sealed, Yi Tian will not be able to resist, and the defense will not be effective. Immediately, Yonghao realm god and the others mobilized extra-dimensional things and mobilized extra-dimensional power to seal Yi Tian. While the interest rate was lowering, dense threads of super-dimensional power were surrounding him, trying to seal him. Yi Tian tried his best to attack, but he could only cut off part of the superdimensional power threads, especially the power of Yonghao realm god was too powerful for him to cut off. Gradually, he was surrounded by super-dimensional power, and it seemed that he was somewhat helpless. But Yi Tian didn't panic at all. Suddenly, he sacrificed another super-dimensional secret treasure, which was a specially broken super-dimensional secret treasure that he had refined over the years, the sky-breaking diamond. Break! Yi Tian shouted. The sky-breaking diamond turned into a stream of light, instantly breaking through the extra-dimensional power that came from the layers of seals, and he rushed out with the sky-breaking diamond. Another super-dimensional secret treasure. Yonghao realm god was slightly shocked. How many super-dimensional secret treasures does Yi Tian have? Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Yi Tian continued to fight with these peak world gods. Although he had been relying on multiple Star Wing six-arm shields and Jalan treasure clothes to protect his whole body, he did not suffer any injuries, but the consumption of extra-dimensional things was very serious. Gradually, Yonghao realm god smiled. Yi Tianji god, you do have a lot of super-dimensional secret treasures, but if you maintain so many super-dimensional secret treasures at the same time, the amount of super-dimensional power you consume must be exaggerated. Now I am afraid that the super-dimensional power in the super-dimensional things is about to be exhausted. That's it. Once the extra-dimensional power is exhausted, what will you use to fight us? Yonghao realm god laughed wildly. He had already determined that the victory belonged to him, but when he thought that the three peak world gods had fallen from Taihao Tianqiao Palace, he felt heartbroken. These are all peak world gods who have integrated extra-dimensional objects, and their combat power far exceeds that of ordinary peak world gods. Soon, after fighting for a while, Yi Tian's extra-dimensional power was about to be exhausted. Seeing this scene, Yonghao realm god burst into laughter. Then, he held a super-dimensional secret treasure and attacked Yi Tian again. Boom! The Star Wing's six-armed shield was penetrated by Yi Tian, and all were knocked back to their original form. The attack also landed on Yi Tian, almost piercing through Jialan Baoyi, and its powerful impact also made Yi Tian feel uncomfortable, and his body kept flying backwards. Seeing this scene, these peak world gods were very excited. They knew that Yi Tian finally couldn't hold on any longer. But suddenly, Yi Tian smiled and said, "Have you forgotten that I have other clones?" Yanghao Realm God sneered, "What's the point of other clones? If you don't integrate extra-dimensional things, you won't be able to use extra-dimensional techniques, and you won't have much combat effectiveness." Really, Yi Tian's cloned bodies have arrived one after another. Currently, he only has 2 cloned bodies left to maintain the star dimension void heaven formation. Although it cannot fully activate the star dimension void heaven formation, it can at least exert a certain power, allowing Taihao to the support from Tianqiao Palace could not come, and the message transmission was cut off. This was enough. And, during this period of fighting, the human race that should move and hide were also well prepared. No matter how hard they fought, the impact would not be serious. What's the point of having so many clones? Kill these clones of him. Yanghaoji Shinto. But then, extra-dimensional power emerged from each of Yi Tian's copied bodies, finally causing Yanghao Realm's expression to change. Is it possible that you have completely 1.2 controlled the power of the extra dimension? Impossible. If you completely control the power of the extra dimension, you can easily kill us. Yanghao Realm God had to admit that each of Yi Tian's clones has been integrated with extra-dimensional things, but how difficult it is to integrate extra-dimensional things. Every peak realm god has to pay a price and consume many long years. Tuan hopes to fuse an extra-dimensional thing. And how long did Yi Tiansai practice and how long did he enter the death void? How could it be possible that each copy of the body could successfully integrate an extra-dimensional object? This is unreasonable, but Yanghao Realm God had no time to think. These cloned bodies of Yi Tian used super-dimensional techniques to kill them one after another, and the super-dimensional techniques of each duplicate body were different. Suddenly, the situation immediately reversed. Chapter 3130 Kill them all. Rumble. A peak world god was seriously injured and soon died at the hands of Yi Tian's cloned body. Yanghao Realm God tried his best, but Yi Tian refined too many star-winged 6-armed shields. Although the other cloned bodies only had 1 star-winged 6-armed shield, and their combat effectiveness was not as good as Yanghao Realm God, there was a cloned body that could intercept Yanghao Realm. God will do it. Other cloned bodies only need to deal with other peak world gods. Not all of these peak world gods are very powerful. Most of them are relatively average and not as good as his fighting power. In addition, Yi Tian is willing to fight tooth and nail, but these peak world gods all have body problems, and part of their bodies are suffering from the side effects of super-dimensional assimilation. How can they dare to fight? Soon, the peak world god of the first sun fell in the hands of Yi Tian. At this time, it was too late for the other peak world gods to fight desperately. They just wanted to escape, but this place was already blocked. Even if they removed the Thousand Suns Eternal Formation, there was still a star dimension void heaven formation blocking the place, preventing them from escaping, and cannot contact other peak world gods in Taihao Tianqiao Palace. Otherwise, if other peak world gods from Taihao Tianqiao Palace came to support him, Yi Tian would really be no match for him. Finally, the only pinnacle world god here is the Yang 05 alien god. Yi Tian's multiple duplicate bodies are besieging Yanghao world god, but Yanghao world god is too powerful. The eternal Dao seed he cultivates is also a perfect eternal Dao seed, and half of the eternal world spirits in his body are perfect level eternal world spirits. In terms of combat effectiveness, Yi Tian is far inferior to the Yanghao realm god. Without the blessing of a large number of extra-dimensional secret treasures and the extra-dimensional power of the medium-sized extra-dimensional object Kun realm wood fragments, he would not be able to compete with the urinary crystal realm god. Perhaps within a few moves, Yanghao realm god can kill him. But who made Yi Tian have so many super-dimensional secret treasures, so that he could compete with Yanghao world god? Suddenly, all the defenses of Yi Tian's cloned body were penetrated, and the body was penetrated by extra-dimensional power, and it quickly fell to death. However, Yi Tian didn't care at all if he just lost a duplicate body. After a while, another copy of the body came to besiege Yanghao realm god. And as time goes by, both sides are extremely depleted of their extra-dimensional power. Each of Yi Tian's cloned bodies was no longer able to activate the super-dimensional power, and its combat effectiveness was greatly reduced. Several cloned bodies were killed by Yanghao realm god one after another, and many super-dimensional secret treasures were destroyed. They were completely scrapped, the kind that cannot be repaired. But even so, Yonghao Realm God was only slightly injured, which shows how powerful his combat power is, far surpassing Yi Tian. However, Yi Tian clung to Yonghao Realm God and refused to give him any hope of escape. At this time, Yonghao Realm God also completely understood, Yi Tian Realm God, your clone is very special. Even if it falls, it can be easily refined. So what? Yi Tian sneered. No wonder you have so many extra-dimensional resources. Exclamation mark quote. Yonghao Realm God suddenly realized, the price you paid for refining the clones should be very low, so you used a large number of clones to enter the Death Void to explore, and only in such a short time you have obtained a large amount of extra-dimensional resources within it, and you must have sacrificed multiple clones to snatch away the resources from the extra-dimensional treasure land in our Taihao Tianchao Palace. Yi Tian didn't answer, but he didn't deny it either. If I had known this, I should have attacked you before your cultivation reached the high-level peak realm god. You would have absolutely no way to resist at that time. Yonghao Realm God was filled with regret. Even when Yi Tian just got off the Jialan treasure ship, he took action directly, which still had some hope. But now there is absolutely no hope of killing Yi Tian, and he may not even be able to survive. He felt that the extra-dimensional things in his body no longer had much extra-dimensional power. Once there was no extra-dimensional power, his combat effectiveness would decline seriously, and he would definitely be killed by Yi Tianwei. After a while, he was no longer able to activate Yi Yifu's extra-dimensional calendar. However, Yi Tian also has a duplicate body that can activate extra-dimensional power. In an instant, a copy of Yi Tian's body activated the super-dimensional Technicaea A super-dimensional Vine Light Thorn. Puff! The eternal world spirit defense of Yonghao World God was broken through, and the super-dimensional secret treasure on his body also lost its power because it was not blessed by the super-dimensional power. It was also penetrated by a blow, causing serious injuries to his body. Puff! Yonghao Realm God began to vomit blood and trembled all over. This was because he was seriously injured and could not control his body. It can be said that the power of extra dimensions is too powerful. With or without the power of extra dimensions, for a peak world god, the difference in strength is simply huge. Certainly, even without extra-dimensional power, he relied on his powerful cultivation to severely injure Yi Tian with all his strength. Yi Tian Realm God, if you let me go, I will never deal with you again, and Taihao Tian Chaos Palace will not be an enemy of the human race. Yonghao Realm God roared, impossible, we've been fighting until now, and you still want me to let you go. Yi Tian sneered, then let's die together. Your body should be the main body. Only the main body can carry a large number of super-dimensional secret treasures. The other clones only have a few super-dimensional secret treasures. Once the main body falls, you will definitely die. Yonghao Realm God said. Ontology. Yi Tian sneered secretly, each of his copied bodies can be regarded as the original body, or they can be regarded as clones. Therefore, he is not afraid at all. Seeing that Yi Tian was still besieging him and had no intention of holding back, Yonghao Realm God became desperate and began to go crazy. Therefore, he burned the extra-dimensional things in his body and no longer suppressed the extra-dimensional assimilation. 950 In an instant, his eternal Tao seed and body entered the stage of rapid extra-dimensional assimilation, and his consciousness was also in the process of extra-dimensional assimilation. Immediately afterwards, he burned all his power and could explode with extra-dimensional power again, reaching the peak level of extra-dimensional energy. His attack was aimed at Yi Tian's duplicate body, which carried the most super-dimensional secret treasures, and his body turned into a super-dimensional light. This ray of light surpassed everything and surpassed Yi Tian's reaction speed. Puff! This ray of light penetrated Yi Tian's duplicate body, and all the super-dimensional secret treasures were penetrated, unable to intercept Yonghao Realm God's last desperate blow. With one blow, Yi Tian's replica body completely fell. Those severely damaged super-dimensional secret treasures also separated from the broken replica bodies one by one, and were put away by other replica bodies with a wave of their hands. Yonghao Realm God, give me the last blow and kill me with a duplicate body, why bother? Yi Tian shook his head. Immediately, he began to deal with the battlefield, and other cloned bodies entered the star-dimensional virtual sky formation, trying their best to maintain this super-dimensional formation. He didn't know whether Taihao Tianchao Palace would attack again, so maintaining this formation was the best choice. In this way, even if other peak world gods from Taihao Tianchao Palace come again, they may not be able to break through his star dimension void sky formation. Chapter 3131 Reconciliation. Taihao Tianchao Palace. Yonghao World God and the others have never returned, leaving other peak world gods confused. After all, in their opinion, with the temporary Thousand Suns eternal formation, as long as Yi Tian is trapped, it should be easy to kill Yi Tian, even if Yi Tian's body is hiding in the outside world and is not in the human race Endless Kingdom Alliance. But Yonghao Realm God and the others should be able to easily destroy the human race's Endless Kingdom Alliance and bring back the human race's extra-dimensional resources. But until now, there is no news at all. They also tried to contact Yonghao Realm God, but they couldn't. As time passed, they gradually panicked, so they prepared to come to the human territory to explore. Of course, they don't dare to have the true God come over and come directly in incarnation. Although the incarnation does not have much powerful combat power, it is still possible to explore it. Soon, an incarnation of a peak world god arrived near the human territory, but was intercepted by the star dimension Void Heaven formation and could not enter the human territory at all. Later, they returned without success. Then, other peak world gods from Taihao Tianchao Palace gathered together to discuss the matter. Everyone, since Yonghao Realm God and the others entered the territory of the human race, they have been unable to be contacted and have not come out. Are they still fighting? Fight, a mere Yi Tian world god is not even a peak world god. Even if his eternal Tao seed is a perfect eternal Tao seed, all eternal world spirits are perfect eternal world spirits. Their foundations are perfect to the extreme, and even incorporate the super-dimensional world spirit. Even objects cannot be the opponents of Yonghao Realm God and the others. Then why haven't Yonghao Realm God and the others come out yet? There is definitely something wrong. The territory of the human race is enveloped by an extra-dimensional formation. This is not the Thousand Sun eternal formation of our Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace, but a strange extra-dimensional formation, a bit like the Star Dimension Void Heaven formation. This should have been arranged by the human Yi Tian Realm God. This formation did not spread out, indicating that the Yi Tian Realm God has not fallen yet. Yi Tian Realm God has not fallen. Could it be that Yonghao Realm God and the others have fallen? What a joke. What should we do now? Join hands together to break the star-dimensional Void Heaven formation. This formation requires 6 peak world gods to work together to maintain the power of the formation. If there is still fighting inside, we can completely break the formation and support Yang Hao Jia Shen and the others. Okay, then go over immediately to provide support. Immediately, all the peak world gods of Taihao Tianchao Palace were dispatched to the human territory. This scene was naturally noticed by other supreme forces, but Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace took action. It was not good for them to intervene now, so they could only watch the battle secretly. Outside the star dimension Zushan formation, the peak world gods of Taihao Tianchao Palace have arrived. They have lost more than a dozen peak world gods. There are still more than 30 peak world gods left. However, most of the peak world gods here are ordinary and have not integrated with the super dimension. It's something with limited combat power. But there are a lot of them, and among them there are also peak world gods who have integrated extra-dimensional things. Therefore, their combined fighting power is still very terrifying. Yi Tian's extra-dimensional objects have almost exhausted their extra-dimensional power. Now that his combat effectiveness is not good, he is no match for these peak world gods. He can only rely on the star dimension void sky formation to resist these peak world gods. Boom! This group of peak world gods kept attacking the star-dimensional void heaven formation. One attack after another fell on the extra-dimensional formation, but they did not shake the extra-dimensional formation. The faces of the peak world gods in Taihao Tianchao Palace changed. There are 6 peak world gods maintaining this star-dimension void heaven formation. A peak world god said. What this means, they know very well. It is true that the human race does not have 6 peak world gods, but the human race Yi Tian is very special and has multiple clones. They don't know exactly how many clones they have, but it is definitely not less than 4 or 5. Now, it is only possible that Yi Tian's 6 clones are maintaining the star dimension virtual heaven formation. If Yi Tian is still fighting, there will definitely be no extra clones to maintain the star dimension void sky formation, but the current situation can only mean that the battle inside is over. At the end of the battle, Yi Tian did not die, so the only ones who fell were Yonghao Realm God and the others, and the entire army was wiped out. Of course, it is also possible that they were sealed and not all killed. We must break through the star-dimensional void heaven formation. These peak world gods said. So, they attacked frantically, but still couldn't break the star dimension void sky formation. Human race Endless Kingdom Alliance, inside the star dimension void heaven formation. Yi Tian is maintaining the star dimension void heaven formation. He also knows that the peak world gods of Taihao Tianchao Palace are attacking, but he is very confident in the star dimension void heaven formation and is not worried that this formation will be broken. Of course, if other supreme forces participate in the siege, he will naturally not be able to withstand it, but the possibility of other supreme forces participating is very low. We cannot let these peak world gods keep attacking the Xingweishu heavenly formation, we still have to put some pressure on them. Then, Yi Tian's cloned body in the outside world immediately went to the headquarters of Taihao Tianchao Palace, trying to break into the headquarters of Taihao Tianchao Palace. Soon, Yi Tian arrived at the Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace and shattered the formation here with one blow. Soon, the peak world gods of Taihao Tianchao Palace who were besieging the star dimension void sky formation learned about Yi Tian's attack on their headquarters and had no choice but to return. After all, there were many extra-dimensional resources in the headquarters. If the headquarters is lost and those extra-dimensional resources are lost, the loss will be too great. However, when they returned to the headquarters of Taihao Tianchao Palace, Yi Tian had already left. Soon after, Taihao Tianchao Palace contacted other eternal kingdoms of the human race and wanted to inquire about the situation of Yonghao Realm God. Yi Tian also responded, informing Yonghao World God that he had fallen. Then, Yi Tian negotiated with Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace. He doesn't want to really fight against Taihao Tianchao Palace. King Nuo he just wants to improve his cultivation level and raise his cultivation level to the peak world god realm. He doesn't want to cause any trouble. Ever since, the two sides conducted a negotiation. The final result is that Yi Tian is not allowed to attack Taihao Tianchao Palace, and Taihao Tianchao Palace will no longer attack human territory. At this point, the two parties have initially reconciled. Of course, everyone knows very well that Taihao Tianchao Palace must hate Yi Tian extremely, but there is currently no way to do anything about Yi Tian. If it is really fully carried out, Taihao Tianchao Palace may completely decline. Taihao Tianchao Palace really endured it. I thought they would fight me at all costs. Yi Tian said secretly. But if you think about it carefully, they can't break the star dimension void sky formation for the time being, and reconciliation is the only way. In the following years, Yi Tian worked hard to practice, and the eternal Tao finally reached its current limit, and he was also ready to hit the peak world god realm. Chapter 3132 Breakthrough in Cultivation, Peak World God. The Human Temple. Yi Tian began to retreat to reach the peak realm god cultivation level. This breakthrough is very important. Once the breakthrough is successful, his strength will be greatly improved, and his combat effectiveness may not be weaker than that of Yonghao Realm God. Let's start. Yi Tian took out one extra-dimensional resource after another, swallowed it in one gulp, absorbed the energy and poured it into the eternal Tao seed, and then began to condense the 10th eternal world spirit. As time passed, the 10th eternal world spirit gradually condensed, starting from a shadow and solidifying continuously. During this period, although there were many mistakes, those extra-dimensional resources abruptly reversed the mistakes and allowed the eternal world spirit to continue to condense. Without these extra-dimensional resources that assist in improving the probability of breakthrough, one mistake will completely fail the breakthrough. This is how valuable these resources are. In short, the resources he used were enough to give him an almost 80% chance of breaking through to the peak world god realm. If he still failed to break through, it would mean that he was very unlucky. After many years, Yi Tian's eternal world spirit has become extremely solid and is about to take its complete form. Boom! A powerful aura burst out from Yi Tian's body, and the 10th eternal world spirit was completely condensed. At this moment, his eternal Tao seed began to transform, his physical body was also transforming, and his aura continued to surge. And with the assistance of extra-dimensional resources, his eternal Tao seed will not fall into a period of weakness. Once it breaks through, its strength will skyrocket. Of course, his strength will not skyrocket too much. After all, most of his current combat power lies in the power of extra dimensions, the techniques of extra dimensions, and the secret treasures of extra dimensions, while the proportion of cultivation and physical body is not high. In this aspect, even if it skyrockets significantly, the power of the extra dimension will not increase, and the power of the extra dimension technique will not increase too much. Therefore, his combat effectiveness will not increase too much. If the increase in combat power was too exaggerated, the original Yonghao world god would not have been killed by him. After a period of time, Yi Tian's physical body and eternal Tao seed had completely transformed. He is now a true peak world god, but there is still a period of rapid improvement, and he can still increase some of his strength. However, when he reaches the peak of his realm god cultivation and has integrated extra-dimensional things, even if he continues to condense eternal world spirits in the future, the increase in his cultivation level will not be too exaggerated. It is impossible to increase his strength by just raising one eternal world spirit like before. Many times. Even after reaching the level of condensing 12 eternal world Apha spirits, if one more eternal world spirit is condensed, the increase in strength may be very small. This is also the reason why many peak world gods are not in a hurry to condense the 13th eternal world spirit, but focus on comprehending the power of extra dimensions. Comprehending the power of extra dimensions is 100 and 1,000 times more important than condensing the 13th eternal world spirit. Certainly, Yi Tian still wants to condense more eternal world spirits, so that the foundation will be more stable and the potential will be higher. Unfortunately, when one reaches the peak level of world god cultivation, it will be extremely difficult to temper the eternal Tao seed, and more resources will be consumed. Many peak world gods of the supreme power have practiced for countless super-dimensional eras, but in the end they only condensed. There are only a handful of peak world gods who can condense 10 eternal world spirits or 11 eternal world spirits into 12 eternal world spirits. Perhaps they put most of their energy into fusing extra-dimensional things and suppressing the extra-dimensional assimilation effects of extra-dimensional things on the body. They did not put much resources into improving the eternal Tao seed, but it is enough to prove that tempering the difficulty of the eternal path. Fortunately, super-dimensional resources can still temper my eternal Tao seed, so I don't have to worry about the problem that the eternal Tao seed cannot be tempered. Yi Tian murmured. In short, as long as there are enough resources, he can refine the eternal Tao seed to the limit. Therefore, there is no need to worry about improving your cultivation, it is at most a matter of time. It takes time to repair those super-dimensional secret treasures. Yi Tian thought to himself. In order to fight against Yonghao Realm God and the others, he had caused serious damage to many super-dimensional secret treasures, and those Star-Wing 6-arm shields were seriously damaged. Moreover, many of his cloned bodies have been maintaining the star dimension void heaven formation, and they have to spend time refining the eternal Tao seeds and improving their cultivation. There is no time to repair these super-dimensional secret treasures. But now, he needs to create a duplicate body to repair the super-dimensional secret treasure, otherwise his combat power will be affected. So, in the following years, he worked hard to repair the super-dimensional secret treasure. Repairing the super-dimensional secret treasure only requires some extra-dimensional materials and some time, but there is nothing else. Of course, no matter how you repair the super-dimensional secret treasure, there must be some differences between the intact super-dimensional secret treasures, and the power will be a little less, but the impact will not be big. It seems that we need to prepare more super-dimensional secret treasures in the future. The more the better. Plus, unknowingly, a long time has passed. During this period of time, the star-dimensional void heaven formation has been open, but in this way, the connection with the outside world has been severed. Therefore, Yi Tian is not going to activate the Xingwei Zushan formation anymore. After all, Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace has negotiated and reconciled with him and will not take action for the time being. In addition, with his breakthrough in cultivation, he is not afraid of Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace. Even if Taihao Tianchao Palace comes out in full force, with his current peak world god clone body, he is still confident that he can fight against it on his own, and even kill all Taihao Tianchao Palace. Wow wow wow, the light of the star-dimensional void heaven formation was removed, and many humans finally came out of the human race Endless Kingdom Alliance to explore and wander away from other places. This scene was also known to other supreme forces, and at this moment, these supreme forces finally confirmed that Yonghao World God and the others had really fallen. For a moment, the strength of the human race surprised these supreme forces. And the information about Yi Tian's breakthrough to the peak world god cannot be concealed. If you feel it for a while, you will find that Yi Tian has achieved a breakthrough. Taihao Tianchao Palace. When some peak world gods learned that Yi Tianshou had broken through and reached the peak world gods, their expressions changed. Yi Tian killed Yonghao World God and the others when they were cultivating high-level peak realm gods. Now that their cultivation levels have broken through, their strength must have increased a lot, so they are no longer opponents. And Yi Tian must have recovered now. If Yi Tian had just killed Yonghao World God and was in a weak period, they could break through the Xingwei Zushan formation and still have hope of killing Yi Tian, but now there is no hope at all. From today on, you must not provoke the god of wind. These peak world gods secretly thought in their hearts. As a result, Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace has become low-key, focusing only on exploring the death void and looking for extra-dimensional resources. Chapter 2133 The Human Race, the Supreme Force. Soon after, Yi Tian's reputation spread to all the Supreme Forces, but it was not enough to make all the Supreme Forces fear him. After all, even the Yonghao Realm God and the Taihao Heavenly Chaos Palace are only average among the Supreme Forces. There are also peak realm gods who can easily kill the Yonghao Realm God. No one knows how many powerful peak world gods are hidden among those Supreme Forces. Therefore, Yi Tian will not keep a high profile. For him, as long as those Supreme Forces do not provoke him, he will not provoke these Supreme Forces. In the blink of an eye, 5 trillion Tao era years have passed. During this period of time, the Eternal Realm and the Demonic Abyss were very peaceful, and the Supreme Forces kept a low profile, and nothing major happened. But the human race has undergone many changes, and a large number of high-level world gods have been born. Even high-level peak world gods are born one after another. Yi Tian's wife and children have all raised their cultivation to the realm of high-level peak world gods. Although their cultivation speed is not as fast as that of Yi Tian, they have also raised their eternal Tao seeds to the limit of high-level peak world gods. In addition, some ordinary high-level world gods in the human race can improve their cultivation faster with the help of extra-dimensional resources, but their combat effectiveness is not very good. However, as long as they are given some extra-dimensional resources, it is not difficult to become a peak world god. This day, Yi Tian's wife Xiao Yu is preparing to break into the peak world god realm. Yi Tian has prepared extra-dimensional resources to assist her in breaking through, and her breakthrough success rate is no less than 70% to 80%. Yuaa, go and break through, Yi Tian said deep in the human race temple. Husband, I'm going to break through right now. Xiao Yu went to seclusion to attack the peak world god realm. A period of time later, the aura of the 10th eternal world spirit emitted from Xiao Yu's retreat. Yuaa has achieved a breakthrough. Yi Tian smiled slightly. After a period of time, Xiao Yu successfully entered the realm of the peak realm god and came out of the void retreat. Immediately afterwards, Yi Tian's daughter Yi Xingyu also broke through to the peak world god, and his son Yi Xingchen also completed the breakthrough. So far, there are 4 peak world gods of the human race. Moreover, there are more than a dozen high-level peak world gods in the human race. Although they are all ordinary high-level peak world gods, they also have normal combat power. Now, the human race is qualified to rank among the supreme forces. Yi Tian secretly said. Therefore, he directly applied to the Jieting headquarters to promote the human race to the supreme power. This requires the approval of other supreme powers. So, on this day, one of the pinnacle world gods of the 2 world gates, the multi-dimensional world god. Yi Tian is also familiar with the multi-dimensional world god. Human race. The multi-dimensional world god came and said, "Congratulations to the Yishan world god." Multi-dimensional world gods, if the human race wants to become the supreme force, what procedures should be followed? Yi Tian asked. The multi-dimensional world god smiled and said, "Actually, it's just a process. We all know that the human race is already strong enough to qualify as the supreme force. Let's just take a look this time. When the time comes, we will directly declare the human race to become the supreme force. However, once the human race after becoming the supreme power, it is necessary to move the territory to the Seam realm and transform the Seam world into the headquarters of the human race. It is not suitable to compete for resources with other top forces and powerful forces, and it is not suitable either." Quote. Change territory. Yi Tian frowned slightly, but soon his expression relaxed. For the human race, there is nothing to care about today's eternal kingdom or the kingdom of gods. First of all, a boundary seam can continuously breed resources, enough to supply the human race. It's just that there are too many humans, and other supreme forces don't have such a large population, so a boundary is enough. However, if the human race only occupies a boundary, it can be done reluctantly. The human race can move to the realm of endless seams, but if some humans are willing to integrate into some territories of other forces, there should be no problem. Yi Tian said, "No problem." The multi-dimensional world god smiled and said, "Those ordinary races are not members of the supreme power. If their cultivation does not reach the realm of world gods, they are not members of the supreme power, and naturally they will not have much influence. However, the human race, the number is still too high, and most of the human race still has to migrate." "No problem." Yi Tian nodded. "However, my human race has moved to the realm of endless seams and become the supreme power. I wonder if there will be any benefits." Multidimensional realm Shinto. Of course there are benefits. First of all, we can get a way to directly enter the death void, that is, directly enter the death void from the world of the seam. This method has also been researched by many supreme forces, and there is no need to find any cracks. Oh, is there another way? Yi Tian was surprised. He thought that the supreme forces exited through those cracks. It seemed that the cracks were just one of the channels for the supreme forces to exit, and they were for the top forces to see. For example, the crack passage in Taihao Tianqiao Palace allows the high-level world gods of the top forces to enter and exit. In fact, the peak world gods of Taihao Tianqiao Palace do not go there. Apart from that, are there any benefits? Yi Tian asked curiously. Yes, the multi-dimensional world god said again. Once the human race becomes the supreme power, they can intervene at the World Court headquarters at will, and can also participate in the super-dimensional conferences of the supreme power, and share and obtain more super-dimensional knowledge. Of course, if you wanted to obtain extra-dimensional knowledge, you must pay a price, or exchange extra-dimensional knowledge for extra-dimensional knowledge. And the most important point is that once you become a supreme power, you can send mid-level peak world gods into the 5 worlds to seek for the resources there. The world of 5 seams. Yi Tian was overjoyed. Although the human race currently occupies the realm of endless seams, it is only a world of seams. If they can intervene in 5 more worlds, with the strength of the human race, they will definitely be able to shrink from these thoughts. Thinking of getting a lot of resources. Although it is useless to him, it is useful to those human world gods. Yi Tian chatted with the multidimensional world god for a long time, and then the multidimensional world god left. Soon, the news spread that the human race had become the supreme power. As a result, the human race began to intervene in the 5 realms, and the migration was also in progress. Boom! Yi Tian turned into a giant hand with super-dimensional power, directly covering an eternal kingdom, directly moving this eternal kingdom, and bringing it into the world of endless seams. Next, Yi Tian moved all the eternal kingdoms of the human race to the realm of endless seams. The process was extremely easy. This is the strength and means of the peak world god. Not long after, the eternal kingdom of the human race was moved by him into the realm of endless seams. Chapter 3134 Come to the red sky blood golden grass area again. The realm of endless seams. Yi Tian began to transform this boundary. This transformation was mainly to prevent the peak demon species from the demon abyss from invading here, so he needed to cut off the possibility of the demon abyss invading here. The best way to transform it is to arrange the ultra-dimensional formation and integrate the ultra-dimensional formation into the world of endless seams. In this way, even if the ultra-dimensional formation is not fully activated, the ultra-dimensional formation itself is enough to cut off the possibility of the peak demon species invading here. Then set up another star dimension void heaven formation. Yi Tian secretly said. He dismantled the star dimension void sky formation at the eternal realm. Although there would be some loss, it was not much. A little extra dimensional material would be enough. Afterwards, he deployed a super-dimensional formation in the realm of endless seams. Unknowingly, the arrangement of this ultra-dimensional formation was completed. Boom! 170. The star-dimensional void heaven formation has been completely integrated into this world of endless seams, which has increased the defense of this world of endless seams many times and made the space more stable. Moreover, Yi Tian also sent a replica body to guard the star dimension void heaven formation for a long time, which made him feel more at ease. Next, it's time to open up the passage between the endless seam and the void of death. Yi Tian has already obtained such a method from the Jieding headquarters to open a passage directly from the endless seam. Under normal circumstances, there is no way to break the barrier between the endless world seam and the death void. However, those supreme forces continued to study and naturally found a way. And this help is a super-dimensional object. Using an ordinary low-level super-dimensional object and a secret super-dimensional technique called super-dimensional realm technique, you can break through the barrier and form a permanent super-dimensional object. Dimensional channel. The premise for this is that the supreme power has a peak world god that integrates extra-dimensional things. Otherwise, it is impossible to practice the extra-dimensional secret technique. As for the newly promoted supreme forces, there is a high probability that they will not be able to do this. They can ask the peak world gods of other supreme forces to help arrange it. However, Yi Tian has already integrated extra-dimensional things, so he can naturally practice this extra-dimensional secret technique of extra-dimensional world communication. There is no problem in arranging it by himself. Click. The barriers are crumbling, and an ancient gate is gradually condensing. At this time, Yi Tian threw an extra-dimensional object in and integrated it into the ancient gate. Gradually, the aura of extra-dimensional power emerged from this ancient gate, becoming more and more mysterious. This gate is the passage into the Death Void, and it is also a passage created using super-dimensional Taoism. It's done. Yi Tian smiled slightly. With this passage, he can travel between the endless seam and the Death Void without maintaining it. Moreover, this passage is completely under his control in the endless seam, and outside forces cannot use this passage at all. From now on, the peak world gods or high-level world gods of the human race can also use this channel to enter the Death Void. Of course, if his strength is not good enough, even if he is a high-level peak world god or a peak world god, he will not allow these human world gods to enter the Death Void, otherwise he will die if he is not careful. The following years were very peaceful. Yi Tian practiced silently, and the human race gave birth to some high-level peak world gods one after another, but it would take a lot of time for these high-level peak world gods to reach the peak world gods. Yi Tian will not give them a large amount of extra-dimensional resources. After all, the human race is now the supreme force and is not urgent to increase the number of peak world gods. Therefore, if these high-level peak world gods want to attack the peak world gods, they will most likely have to rely on your own practice. Time flies. In a days, another 5 trillion years of the Tao era passed. During this period of time, Yi Tian obtained a large amount of resources from the Death Void, as well as many extra-dimensional objects. But he still did not let his wife and children try to fuse extra-dimensional things. Fusion of extra-dimensional things will indeed increase the strength many times, but the cost is also very high. If you cannot truly understand the power of extra-dimensional things, you will suffer the consequences of extra-dimensional things. The cost of assimilation. This situation can only be suppressed with the help of 10 kinds of special resources. But there will come a day when you can no longer bear it, and you will fall completely. So, Yi Tian would not put his relatives in danger before he found a solution. In these 5 trillion Supreme Tao era years, his strength has not improved much. Although the eternal Tao seed has been tempered a lot and is a bit stronger than when he just broke through to the peak realm god, he can at most be tempered to 10 of the current realm, 1 part. In other words, he will probably need tens of trillions of Tao era years before he can refine the eternal Tao seed to its current limit. Cultivation cannot be broken through, and this improvement in the eternal Tao seed will naturally not increase much power. Of course, he also created some extra-dimensional techniques and refined many extra-dimensional secret treasures. These 2 aspects can increase his strength a little. After exploring the Death Void for so long, I have to go to that place again. There should be hope of taking away the resources there. With a thought in Yi Tian's mind, he copied his body one after another and rushed there. Death Void. Red Sky Blood Gold Grass Area. When Yi Tian came here, he entered the Death Void for the first time. He followed the boundless sailing ship of the Zumi world god and passed here. There were also high-level world gods who longed for the Red Sky Blood Gold Grass here, but they were killed by the Red Sky Blood Gold Grass here. The grass instantly killed. However, Yi Tian always remembered this place. After all, hundreds of Red Sky Blood Gold grasses were what a huge resource. A scarlet sky blood gold grass helps a high-level world god break through a small realm, increasing the chance by 30%. Even if it is used to attack the peak world god, it can increase the chance by more than 10%. With so many red sky blood gold grass, there is no one can be tempted by its strength. Yi Tian secretly said, but Taihao Tianchao Palace and other supreme forces did not come to pick the red sky blood gold grass here, which shows how terrifying the red sky blood gold grass that has evolved into an extra-dimensional creature is. However, those supreme forces are not unable to do anything to the red sky blood gold grass. If they do it at all costs, they can definitely obliterate the red sky blood gold grass extra-dimensional creature. However, whether the price paid for harvesting and killing is worthwhile, it would not be worthwhile if a few 1.8 peak world gods who were integrated with extra-dimensional things were killed. The combat power of any peak world god that incorporates extra-dimensional objects is not comparable to that of ordinary peak world gods. Losing one is a huge loss. There is a high probability that these red sky blood golden grasses can cultivate dozens of peak world gods, but these dozens of peak world gods can only produce at most 5 or 6 peak world gods who integrate extra-dimensional things, and it will take a long time. Moreover, if you really want to kill this extra-dimensional creature, the price you pay must be very high, and it may be enough to nearly annihilate the supreme power like Taihao Tianchao Palace. It is also because it is not cost-effective that those supreme forces do not come here. They think that they will come here to pick the red sky blood golden grass because they want to increase their strength even more in the future. But now, the sky is eyeing this place. Chapter 3135, Kill the extra-dimensional creatures of red sky blood gold grass. The ordinary red sky blood gold grass is useless to me, but it is very useful to the high-level world gods of the human race, and that red sky blood gold grass extra-dimensional creature is definitely of great use to me. Yi Tian secretly said. His target this time was the extra-dimensional creature of the red sky blood gold grass, and he just took away the other red sky blood gold grass. Once he kills the red sky, blood, gold and grass extra-dimensional creature, this one extra-dimensional creature alone will be enough to help him break the shackles in the future and condense the 11th eternal world spirit. It can even help his relatives condense the 10th. An eternal world spirit might be more than enough. Such super-dimensional creatures are top-notch super-dimensional resources. How could he let go of such an extra-dimensional resource? Of course, he is also very clear that his current strength should still be inferior to the super-dimensional creatures of the red sky blood gold grass, but as long as he pays a high enough price, he can hope to kill the red sky blood gold grass super-dimensional creatures even if it is forced. 6 cloned bodies, that's about it, we can pass. Yi Tian's 6 cloned bodies instantly attack the super-dimensional creatures of Qishan blood golden grass. At this moment, the red sky blood gold grass extra-dimensional creature sensed Yi Tian's arrival. Its huge body emerged and spread continuously. The terrifying extra-dimensional power condensed into 05 grasses and ripped apart the death void. Yi Tian's pupils shrank, and then he realized that the red sky blood golden grass did not attack the high-level peak world god with all its strength, but now it is the ghost cultivator who has truly shown that he is stronger than the grass and can kill instantly. Star Wing 6-armed shield. Pieces of Star Wing 6-armed shields emerged, protecting Yi Tian with the blessing of super-dimensional power. This time, he refined a large number of Star Wing 6-armed shields, far more than the last time he fought against Yonghao Realm God. The dense Star Wing 6-armed shield forms a dense defense, used to resist the attacks of the extra-dimensional creatures of the red sky blood gold grass. Puff 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 puff. The defenses of the Star Wing 6-armed shields were penetrated layer by layer. It was not until 16 layers of defense were penetrated that it was resisted. What a terrifying attack! The attack of Yonghao Realm God is far inferior to that of this extra-dimensional creature. Yi Tian secretly said. After all, his current cultivation level is much stronger than before, and the effect of activating the super-dimensional secret treasure will naturally be better. If Yonghao World God is still alive, it would be great to be able to break through the defense of his first layer of Star Wing 6-armed shield. But this super-dimensional creature of red sky, blood, gold and grass, can penetrate 16 layers of defense with one blow. How amazing is this? Fear. If it were the Yonghao Realm God who came over, he would be pierced through the body with one blow. Even if he didn't die, he would still be seriously injured. He probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long before he would be killed. Kill. Yi Tian's 6 cloned bodies resisted the attack of the red sky blood gold grass, and used various extra-dimensional techniques to attack the red sky blood gold grass. However, his attack did too little damage to the extra-dimensional creatures of red sky blood gold grass. However, he still desperately attacked the golden chamber for 6 days. Suddenly, one of his cloned bodies was penetrated by all defenses and was seriously injured. But he didn't care at all, burning the eternal Dao seed and fighting desperately. Soon after, this replica body was almost scrapped. He did not let this duplicate body be sacrificed. Once it was sacrificed, the super-dimensional secret treasure would be lost and he would not have time to pick it up. Then, his copy body immediately withdrew from the battlefield, and soon another copy body appeared, took all the super-dimensional secret treasures, put them into the body without any hindrance, and regained control of these super-dimensional secret treasures, while the seriously injured copy body the self is dissolved. In this way, each of Yi Tian's cloned bodies participated in the battle, and came out once they were about to be scrapped. As time went by, Yi Tian scrapped a lot of cloned bodies, but the injuries of the red sky blood gold grass extra-dimensional creatures were gradually getting worse. The terrifying red sky blood gold grass extra-dimensional creature, I still underestimated it. If all the peak world gods from Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace came over, the whole army would be wiped out and we wouldn't even think about killing the red sky blood gold grass extra-dimensional creature. Yi Tian estimated. However, he still has hope. Before I knew it, a long time passed. Many of Yi Tian's Star Wing 6-armed shields are almost completely scrapped and cannot be repaired. However, he didn't care at all. If it was scrapped, it would be scrapped. Even if there were some losses, he didn't care. Once he killed this extra-dimensional creature, the gains would definitely far exceed the losses. Finally this day, the red sky, blood, gold and grass extra-dimensional creature is already on the verge of collapse, its body is riddled with holes, and it is difficult to recover. It is obvious that it is approaching its limit. Come on, it's going to die. Yi Tian was quite excited. So he fought even harder. After a while, the red sky, blood, golden grass and extra-dimensional creatures were about to perish. But just when it was about to fall, it performed some kind of ultimate move. Boom! Endless light tore apart everything. Yi Tian's 4 cloned bodies were instantly killed, and the 6 star wings and 6 armed shields were directly and completely destroyed. But after using this move, the red sky blood golden grass completely fell. What a terrifying move! This is an attack that explodes all the power of the whole body in an instant, condenses the super-dimensional power to the extreme, and has an attack power that is at least 5 times more than the peak. Yi Tian secretly exclaimed. If it were another supreme force, they would definitely lose everything under this move, but he only lost 4 replica 883 bodies and 6 star wings and 6 armed shields, which was still within the acceptable range. Of course, his overall losses in this battle were not small. But when he thought of these red sky blood golden grasses, he no longer cared, and instead smiled. Wow! Yi Tian came to the corpse of the red sky blood gold grass and collected the red sky blood gold grass, and then collected other ordinary red sky blood gold grasses. Although the other red sky blood gold grasses also had some intelligence, they were not extra-dimensional creatures and did not have very strong combat power. They were wiped out of consciousness one by Yi Tian and put away one by one. After a while, these hundreds of red sky blood golden grasses had fallen into Yi Tian's hands. It's time to go back. Yi Tian used the super-dimensional boundary wood to escape light and quickly return to the world of endless boundary gaps. After returning, Yi Tian put those ordinary red sky blood golden grasses into the human temple, and set a standard. If they met the standard and paid a certain contribution value, they could be exchanged for the red sky blood golden grass. Certainly, this red sky blood gold grass extra-dimensional creature naturally belongs to him, and he will not take it out. Red sky blood golden grass helps condense the eternal world spirit, but it is of little use in tempering the eternal Tao seed. It is not used at the moment. When the eternal Tao seed is raised to the limit, it can be used to break through the cultivation realm. Yi Tian planned. Chapter 3136 Superdimensional Conference. In the following years, Yi Tian went to several places that he did not dare to go in the past, but some places were too dangerous. Even if he mobilized the cloned body again and constantly sacrificed the cloned body, he still could not get any benefits. Therefore, some places must be discarded. Of course, he also got a lot of good things, and his net worth continued to skyrocket. Shortly after, the Sumeru realm god of Taihao Tianchao Palace and other peak realm gods took a boundless sailing boat to travel in the Death Void, exploring the Death Void, hoping to obtain more resources. They were very careful and followed safe routes. Suddenly, they discovered that there was no more red sky blood gold grass in the red sky blood gold grass area, and their expressions changed dramatically. Where is the red sky blood gold grass? Why are the hundreds of red sky blood gold grass gone? The peak realm god of Taihao Tianchao Palace was extremely confused. Will it migrate? Zumi realm god said a possibility that he didn't even believe. How is it possible to migrate? The red sky blood gold grass is rooted here. The ordinary red sky blood gold grass is a plant, not an extra-dimensional creature. Only that one is an extra-dimensional creature. And the Death Void is full of dangers, and the red sky blood gold grass is full of dangers. It is impossible for the extra-dimensional creatures of the heavenly blood golden grass to run around. Moreover, this area is most suitable for the reproduction and cultivation of the red heaven blood golden grass. They cannot leave. There are traces of battle here. If my guess is correct, the red sky blood gold grass extra-dimensional creature has been killed, and all the red sky blood gold grass has been picked away. Impossible, the strength of the red sky, blood, golden grass extra-dimensional creature is so terrifying. We, all the Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace, can't do anything to it. Who can kill it? If the top supreme forces join forces and go all out, there may be hope to kill it. Then how much price will they have to pay? In recent years, I have not heard of any supreme force losing many peak world gods. There is another possibility, that is, a certain pinnacle world god has broken through and completely controlled the power of extra dimensions. Only then can he kill the bloodless golden grass extra-dimensional creatures. What? Completely control the power of extra dimensions? They were all shocked at the thought of this possibility. If this is really the case, then the peak world god is the real enemy. Is this really possible? Let's go, there's no need to explore. No matter what the situation is, if the other party can kill the extra-dimensional creatures of red sky blood gold grass, it's not something we can deal with. The peak world gods of Taihao Tianchao Palace left and no longer explored the truth. Before you know it, another period of time has passed. This day, the human race received a notice from the World Court headquarters that a super-dimensional conference is about to begin, and any peak world god must be eligible to participate. Of course, you can choose not to participate, but every supreme force must at least have a peak world god participate. The super-dimensional meeting, I wonder what they are going to discuss. Yi Tian was going to attend and took his son Yi Xingqian with him. The super-dimensional conference is scheduled to be held in a very secret place in the Jieting headquarters. This place is usually closed and will only be opened when the super-dimensional conference is opened. Soon, all the top world gods came here, and Yi Tian and Yi Xingqian also came. And Yi Tian also noticed the peak world gods of Taihao Tianchao Palace. They were also looking at him. Their eyes seemed calm, but they absolutely hated him in their hearts. However, the current Taihao Tianchao Palace is completely unable to do anything to him and absolutely does not dare to show any hostility. Not long after, all the peak world gods who were supposed to come arrived. If they didn't come, they wouldn't come. Wow wow wow, the 6 peak world gods sat on top, but the other peak world gods did not refute, which shows that the strength of these 6 peak world gods is definitely far superior to the other peak world gods. It's them. Yi Tian looked slightly, already knowing the identities of these 6 peak world gods. These 6 should be the peak world gods among the supreme forces who are closest to the half-step super-dimensional realm. They are known as the Supreme World Gods. This is an honorific title, not a realm name. The cultivation of these 6 people has reached the level of condensing 12 eternal world spirits, and all eternal world spirits are perfect eternal world spirits, and the eternal Tao seed is naturally also the perfect eternal Tao seed. Not only that, every step they took went to the limit, and they merged 2 extra-dimensional things and created many extra-dimensional techniques. They live for a long time and possess many super-dimensional secret treasures, including more than 1 medium super-dimensional secret treasure. Yi Tian only has 1 medium-sized super-dimensional secret treasure, the Jalan treasure cloves, but they have several of them. In terms of strength, Yi Tian is naturally not as good as this infinite realm god. But even so, the strength of these 6 should only be slightly stronger than the red sky blood golden grass. The key is that they can definitely withstand the harm of extra-dimensional assimilation, so they don't dare to deal with the extra-dimensional creatures of the red sky blood gold grass. When they reach this realm, they might one day suddenly realize the true power of extra-dimensionality and completely solve their physical problems, so they will naturally not take risks casually. At this time, a group of peak world gods greeted these 6 supreme world gods. Soon, Taiji Shen, one of the 6 supreme world gods, said, "Dear peak world gods, this superdimensional meeting called to open an account is related to the superdimensional storm. Everyone should be very clear that once the superdimensional storm arrives, we will have no resources available for at least hundreds of superdimensional epochs." Quote. Another Liangyi realm god, one of the 6 supreme world gods, said, "I know that many peak world gods are thinking of buying the ship's quota or employee quota for the Jalan treasure ship and leaving our territory, but even if the Jalan treasure ship will increase the number of places, not too many. Most of the peak world gods still can't leave. To be honest, if I want to join the ship, I can definitely buy it. But I am unwilling to leave so far, because even if I leave, I may not have a chance to break through, and even risks." The other peak world gods did not speak. In fact, the Liangyi world gods only said half of what they said. They knew very well why Liangyi Zhao's realm god did not leave. It was because if they stayed here, as long as they did not seek death, there would be no danger. Over time, they might be able to comprehend the power of extra dimensions. Once the true power of extradimensionality is realized, Jalan treasure ship will definitely take the initiative to invite them, and not just ordinary employees, but will be given many benefits and a sufficiently high status. Once upon a time, there was a peak world god among the supreme forces who did this. A peak world god was born who understood the true power of extra-dimensionality, and finally left with the Galan treasure ship. But that was a long time ago, and many peak world gods today God has never seen it. But it is obvious that this time, these 6 supreme world gods do not want to stay here, and also want to leave the system. The god of Tai realm, the god of Liangyi realm, tell me, what is the purpose of this meeting? A peak world god asked. Liangyi world god looked solemn and said, we are preparing to deal with the Demon Seed Abyss and snatch the extra-dimensional resources of the Demon Seed Abyss. Chapter 3137, Prepare to invade the Demonic Abyss. Dealing with the Demonic Abyss. All the peak world gods frowned slightly, although they had all had this thought. However, their strength is not much different from that of the Demon Seed Abyss, and the peak demons in the Demon Seed Abyss still have the means to influence their eternal Tao seeds. Even the peak world gods dare not say that they cannot be transformed into demons. Therefore, it is impossible for them to completely crush the Demon Seed Abyss. If a war is launched, both sides will suffer heavy losses. In the past, when the realm of realm gods and the demonic abyss were fighting, none of them, the peak realm gods, had ever really taken action. If a war really broke out, how many peak world gods would have perished? A peak world god said, "Liang Yi realm god, our strength is about the same as that of the Demon Seed Abyss. Once we invade the Demon Seed Abyss, under the suppression of the Demon Seed Abyss, we will be at a disadvantage." The will of the demonic abyss. The other peak world gods nodded slightly. They were also afraid of the abyssal will of the demonic species, which was an existence they could not contend with. Once they are suppressed by the will of the demonic abyss, they are no match at all. If they forcefully invade the demonic abyss, they may end up with the entire 473rd army being wiped out. Under such circumstances, if the gods of the two ritual realms still want to invade the demonic abyss, why should they invade? Seeing that many peak world gods did not agree, Liangyi Realm Shen said, "Everyone, since I proposed this plan, I am sure of it. First, let's discuss the issue of the will of the Devil's Abyss, the will of the Devil's Abyss, and the relationship between the kingdom of our world gods and the eternal kingdom. The will of the devil is different. It has mutated and gained self-awareness, which makes the Demon Seed Abyss very scary. But we have a way to seal the Demon Seed Abyss will. Sealing the will of the demonic abyss. Many peak world gods find it incredible, that is the will of the Demon Seed Abyss. In terms of levels, the will of the demonic abyss can be regarded as an extra-dimensional level. Only a peak world god who understands the true extra-dimensional power can influence or even suppress the will of the demonic abyss. Wow, the god of the world of two rituals took out a bead. This is a super-dimensional secret treasure. Many peak world gods recognized it, but they didn't know what the use of this super-dimensional secret treasure was. Liangyi Realma S. Shinto. This is a medium-level super-dimensional secret treasury of the Forbidden Zero Bead, which is specially designed to seal will-based super-dimensional beings. The will of the demonic abyss is actually a will-based super-dimensional being. The Forbidden Lingju is its nemesis, capable of sealing the meaning of the Demon Seed Abyss. Where did the gods of the two ritual realms get the Forbidden Ling Pearl? They were very curious. After all, they had never seen this thing in the Jalan treasure ship. If they had seen it, they would definitely find a way to exchange it for one. This is not purchased from the Jalan treasure ship, but was entrusted by a peak world god from the Jalan treasure ship to be brought here by a peak world god who was once on the ship with our two realms. Liangyi Jia Shen said. I see, many peak world gods understood. They, the supreme forces, also have many peak world gods who have left this territory through the Galan treasure ship and entered other territories. Although most of them have almost no news, there are also a very few peak world gods who can occasionally contact them through the Galan treasure ship, and even some are simply employees of Jalan treasure ship. Even if they are no longer the pinnacle world gods among their forces, they can still get some good things. However, if you can entrust the peak world god of the Jalan treasure ship to bring something over, that peak world god will definitely do well. At this time, the Liangyi realm god continued. The peak realm god of our two realms has joined another force that is no less powerful than the Jalan treasure ship, and has successfully comprehended the true extra-dimensional power. Now he has advanced to half a step into the super-dimensional realm. And he not only sent the Forbidden Lingju, but also a powerful weapon, which was enough to deal with the Demon Seed Abyss. At this time, a peak world god asked in confusion, Liangyi realm god, since the peak world god has broken through to AFFH, half step of the super-dimensional realm, I will give you some more super-dimensional resources, and it should be easy for you to buy a spot on the Galan treasure ship. Why bother dealing with the Demon Seed Abyss? The god of Liangyi realm sneered, everyone, you think too much. It would be great if that person can give us something. Whether it is the Forbidden Lingju or that big killer weapon, they are just very precious in our eyes. That's all, but other territories may be just ordinary stuff, not worth many Jalan treasure coins. And the Jalan treasure ship will not sell this kind of treasure, it is not as precious as we imagined. It is impossible for the half-step super-dimensional realm to give. We have too many resources, so we still have to rely on grabbing. God of the two-year realm, what kind of killer weapon is that? They asked curiously. I won't tell you for the time being. You just need to know that I have a way to deal with the demon seed abyss. Of course, you also need to participate. When the time comes, it will be up to you how many extra-dimensional resources you can snatch. How about it? The two gods of the world looked around and said, waiting for the answers from these peak world gods. I agree, we'd love to join in. Want to join? Yi Tian is also willing to participate. After all, killing the peak demon species in the demon abyss will undoubtedly eliminate the enemy, which is also good for the human race. Moreover, you can also get some resources by the way, so why not? But, he is not sure whether the demon seed abyss can be completely destroyed this time. He is only worried about one situation, that is, there might be a big killer weapon in the demon seed abyss. After all, the peak demon species in the demon seed abyss have also left this territory. Maybe some of the peak demon species have entered the half-step extra-dimensional realm, in case some big killer weapons are sent to them. By then, I'm afraid these supreme forces will be in danger. Soon, they designated a rough plan, and each supreme force would target the forces in the demonic abyss, but the most dangerous place was naturally left to the 6 supreme gods to deal with. In order to prevent the news from leaking, they asked every peak world god to make an oath and implement the plan as soon as possible. After the major peak world gods returned, they began to gather the peak world gods to prepare to join the peak world gods of other supreme forces to invade the demon seed abyss. This day, a large number of peak world gods gathered at the World Court headquarters, and the number this time far exceeded the past. Immediately, they began to break into the demon seed abyss directly from a boundary. In this battle, not only the peak world gods participated in the battle, but also a large number of high-level world gods. These high-level world gods mainly dealt with high-level demon species. As for the weaker world gods, there is no need to participate in the war, otherwise they will become cannon fodder, which is meaningless. The real victory or defeat on the battlefield depends on the war between the peak world gods and the peak demon species. Whoever wins will truly win. Chapter 3138 Bloody Puppet, a Killer Weapon. Because the supreme forces moved too quickly without any warning, the peak demons in the demonic abyss did not have any expectations. Boom! With the invasion of a large number of peak world gods, an area of the demon seed abyss was directly blasted to pieces, and countless demon seeds fell and died. At this moment, the will of the demonic abyss came. At this moment, it seemed as if the world was filled with the will of the devil the abyss. Yi Tian once faced the will of the abyss of the demon species. He once tried to copy a demon species, but ended up attracting the will of the abyss. At that time, he knew how terrifying the will of the demonic abyss was. If he really fought against the will of the demonic abyss could kill him with just one thought. Now, the will of the demonic abyss is suppressing these peak world gods. Yi Tian felt that his strength was suppressed by at least 30%. Under this situation, it was naturally difficult for these peak world gods to defeat those peak demon species. However, the two gods of the world took action and directly sacrificed the forbidden flavor. Buzz! The forbidden zero bead instantly burst into endless white light. The will of the devil's abyss is waiting for you. If you hide it, it will be difficult for me to ban you. The two gods of the world sneered. In an instant, the will of the demon seed abyss was sealed by the forbidden Lingju. The endless will of the demon seed abyss that covered this place shrank back instantly, and the forbidden Lingju also entered the origin of the demon seed abyss, sealing the demon seed abyss's will. The will is constantly compressed and completely sealed. Of course, this ban cannot last forever, but there is no problem in persisting until the end of the war. At the moment when the will of the demonic abyss was sealed, many peak world gods felt that their strength had been restored and they were no longer suppressed. At this time, many demon species came from all directions, but these demon species were very weak. At most, they were just high-level demon species. In the eyes of the peak world god, these demon species were just ants. A peak world god waved his hand, and the terrifying extra-dimensional power swept away, directly crushing these demon species. Even high-level peak demon species are nothing more than ants in the hands of such a peak world god. It can be said that at this moment, the demons in this area are unlucky and have no ability to resist. But soon, the peak demons came. The peak demons of the demonic abyss arrived, and the terrifying aura filled the air. Peak demon species descended one after another, each holding weapons, including many super-dimensional secret treasures. Kill. The peak demons did not ask the gods of the two worlds why they invaded the abyss of demons. No one was stupid. There was only one reason for the invasion, and that was to obtain extra-dimensional resources. However, they are not afraid of the world gods, the pinnacle of supreme power. In terms of strength, their demon seed abyss is not bad. Even without the assistance of demon seed abyss will, they are still sure to compete with the supreme forces. God of Liangyi realm, if you have any great killing weapon, use it quickly. One by one, the peak world gods urged. If the big killer weapon is not used, once they actually fight, the peak world god on their side may fall at any time. They came to invade the demonic abyss, but they didn't want to perish. Don't be anxious, just stick to it. The two gods of the world said. When the other peak world gods heard this, they were immediately speechless, but they had already invaded and it was too late to retreat now. Kill. They had no choice but to fight with these peak demon species. Yi Tian did not show all his strength. He only showed the strength comparable to Yonghao realm god. Moreover, he only used a small part of the super-dimensional secret treasure on his body, not all of it. Otherwise, if he had sacrificed so many extra-dimensional secret treasures at once, he seriously doubted that the gods of the two worlds would turn against him. After all, if he killed one of them, he could obtain a large number of extra-dimensional secret treasures. How many Galan treasure coins would this be worth? Anyone would be tempted. This is more cost-effective than dealing with the demon seed abyss. So, he kept paddling. Rumble. The peak world god and the peak demon species were fighting, and no peak world god fell in the beginning. After all, the strong versus the strong, the weak versus the weak, and when the strength gap is not big, it is really not easy to cause the peak world god and the peak demon species to fall. But not long after, a peak demon species was killed. Immediately afterwards, a peak world god was sneak attacked by a powerful peak demon species and was instantly killed by the power of the extra dimension. After that, one peak world god and one peak demon species fell one after another. At this time, both sides were furious, and no one could retreat. They were both attracted by anger and greed. Moreover, once a peak world god or peak demon species dies, his wealth will also belong to other peak world gods and peak demon species, which will lead to more intense killings. 0A Please give me flowers 0. God of the 2-year realm, do you have any big killing weapon? A severely injured peak world god roared angrily. Hold on a little longer. The Liangyi realm god was fighting one of the top peak demons. He didn't say anything and just asked the other peak world gods to hold on for a while. Not long after, some peak world gods and peak demon species fell. At this time, the god of Tai realm said, the god of Liangyi realm can sacrifice that big killing weapon. Good. After Liangyi realm god knocked away the peak demon species fighting with him, he sacrificed a bloody puppet with a thought. After the bloody puppet appeared, a strange scene appeared. It was seen that it quickly absorbed the corpses of peak world gods and peak demon species, and absorbed these corpses into the puppet's body. Immediately afterwards, the breath of the bloody puppet became more and more terrifying. Destroy it. The peak demon species realized that something was wrong with this bloody puppet, and each of them felt a sense of death crisis, so they all attacked the bloody puppet. Stop them. The gods of Liangyi realm and Tai realm intercepted these peak demon species and prevented them from destroying the bloody puppets. However, under the desperate efforts of the peak demon species, there was still a peak demon species that broke through the blockade and approached the bloody puppet. But a scene that surprised the pinnacle demon happened. The pinnacle demon struck with all its strength and used a super-dimensional secret treasure. When it was about to attack the bloody puppet, a blood-colored light shield appeared on the blood puppet, which easily resisted the pinnacle demon. A full blow. Bang bang bang. Under repeated attacks, the peak demon species was unable to break through the bloody puppet's defense. Soon, the bloody puppet finally completely digested the corpses of those peak world gods and peak demon species, completing the final transformation. Boom! Lines of terrifying bloody light spread, and then the bloody puppet continued to change, finally turning into a bloody figure. Immediately afterwards, the bloody figure grabbed the peak demon species, swallowed it in one gulp, and killed it instantly. Seeing this scene, even the peak world gods were stunned. What the hell is this? Ida so terrifying. Chapter 3139 The Incarnation of the Davila Abyssal Will. Many peak world gods had previously doubted whether the Liangyi world god really had a great weapon. Now there is no need to doubt it, but this great weapon is too weird. It was so weird that they were all scared, and even doubted whether this killer weapon was controllable or whether it could deal with them. Yi Tian was also very surprised. He didn't expect that the great killing weapon of the Liangyi realm god was such a weird thing. This bloody puppet requires the corpse of a peak world god or a peak demon species as a sacrifice, otherwise it cannot be activated. No wonder the two gods of the two worlds have not sacrificed their big killing weapons, because the fighting has not started, and the peak world god and peak demon species are still alive. Without the fall, this great killing weapon would not be able to be used at all. Yi Tian secretly said. However, this kind of killer weapon should have limitations and cannot be activated all the time. Otherwise, the other 5 of the 6 supreme world gods will definitely be worried and may even join forces to deal with the male god Liang Yi. 20 nations. As for what the restrictions are, he doesn't know yet. Wow, under the control of the gods of the two worlds, the bloody puppets killed those peak demon species. A peak demon tried to resist, but was killed by the bloody puppet with one hand, and then swallowed in one gulp. Its combat power was too terrifying. After a while, many peak species fell and died. If this continues, all the peak demon species may be killed. Ha ha ha, these peak demons are nothing to be afraid of anymore. The two gods of the world said excitedly. Tai Realm God also breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, the blood shadow puppet is almost invincible in the half-step super-dimensional realm. No matter how many these peak demon species are, they can't do anything to the blood shadow puppet. In fact, he was also very afraid of the blood shadow puppet, but fortunately the gods of the two worlds made an oath not to deal with them, otherwise he would not agree to this plan. After all, if the gods of the Liangyi realm do not make an oath, they can be killed easily by using the blood shadow puppet. As more and more peak demon species fall, the remaining peak demon species become desperate. Soon, their eyes became firm. Sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. Not only these peak demon species sacrificed, but countless demon species throughout the demon abyss also began to sacrifice under the control and influence of these peak demon species. Seeing this scene, the two gods of the world frowned slightly, as if they thought something bad was going to happen. In an instant, countless demon species sacrificed themselves, their own flesh and blood turned into ashes, and their will merged into the will of the demon species abyss. In fact, every demon species will can be regarded as an incarnation of the abyssal will. If sacrificed, the will can be integrated into the demon species abyssal will. Of course, the peak demon has its own will and can choose not to sacrifice, leave the abyss of the demon with a new life, and seek a higher realm on its own. But the demon species has flaws. Even if it really leaves, it may not be able to find a path to a higher realm. If they were not forced into a desperate situation, these peak demon species would not be able to sacrifice. But as these peak demon species sacrificed, countless demon species also sacrificed, and the abyssal will of the demon species gained infinite power. In an instant, the forbidden Lingju was crushed by the will of the devil's abyss. At that time, the will of the demonic abyss regained its freedom, and under the sacrifice of countless demonic species, special changes took place. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. The incarnation of the will of the demonic abyss has arrived. The peak world gods witnessed with their own eyes the coming of the devil's will from the abyss, a completely black and extremely huge body, and the terrifying breath of the devil. At this moment, the faces of the peak world gods changed drastically. They felt that the eternal Tao seeds in their bodies were about to have problems. The eternal Tao seeds seemed to have a tendency to become demonic seeds. Hold on, these peak world gods suppress their eternal Tao seeds and do not want to fall into the state of seduction. Only those peak world gods who have condensed the perfect eternal Tao seed can ignore this situation. Suddenly, the incarnation of the devil's abyssal will took action and instantly killed a peak world god with just one blow. The incarnation of the devil's will. The two world gods all showed fear. Such an incarnation of the abyssal will of the demon species is definitely capable of killing him instantly. I didn't expect that the demon species would actually come up with this thing by offering sacrifices. Blood shadow puppet, kill it. The god of the world of two rituals ordered. Wow, the blood shadow puppet attacked the devil's will of the abyss. The two sides started fighting. Boom, the fight between the blood shadow puppet and the devil's abyssal will made Yi Tian see how terrifying the combat power of half-step into the superdimensional realm was. The blood puppet and the incarnation of the devil's will in the abyss are almost truly invincible at the level of the peak world god. How terrifying is the strength of a person who has comprehended the true power of the ultra-dimensional in the half-step of the extra-dimensional realm. Yi Tian couldn't believe it. Imagine, but he will definitely be able to reach this state in the future. At this time, he was also ready to run away. The blood shadow puppet is defeated, the demon seed abyss incarnation wins, and he has the ability to enter the eternal realm. he will definitely run away with his relatives and enter the death void as soon as possible. But this is the last resort, the last resort. If he really did this, he would have no choice but to buy the Galan treasure ship and the ship quota and leave. I hope I don't have to go to this last step, Yi Tian secretly said. Rumble. They kept fighting, and it was completely unclear who was winning and who was losing. But the blood shadow puppet gradually dimmed, obviously it would not last long. At this time, some peak realm gods had already begun to flee back to the realm of realm gods, not daring to stay here any longer. But Yi Tian was still watching the battle. He didn't want to miss such a battle. Moreover, he also wanted to know the real outcome, so naturally he couldn't leave. The Liangyi realm god did not leave either. If he left, the blood shadow puppet would not be able to fight. The gods of the two worlds are not too panicked. Although the blood shadow puppet is about to be unable to hold on, the demonic abyssal will cannot hold on for long. This demonic abyssal will is not a true will like super-dimensional life form, condensed into an incarnation. It's already because of the sacrifices of those demon species. Now, without the demon species to continue to sacrifice, it will naturally not be able to hold on for long. 2.2 Some time has passed. The blood shadow puppet finally couldn't hold on any longer and his body began to break apart. Escape, the Liangyi realm god said helplessly. Swish swish swish, the remaining peak realm gods fled back to the realm of realm gods. Yi Tian did not stay here anymore and fled back. The blood shadow puppet is still a little bit behind, and he didn't hold on. And just when these peak world gods returned to the realm of the world gods, the blood shadow puppet was completely defeated by the will of the devil's abyss. Immediately afterwards, the will of the demon seed abyss actually tore apart the barrier between the demon seed abyss and the realm of gods, and entered the realm of Sishan. However, the realm of gods is not the home of the devil's abyssal will. After arriving in the realm of realms, its aura has been reduced a lot. However, the peak world gods are still no match for it. Chapter 3140 Entering the demonic abyss again. Human race, the realm of endless seams. Yi Tian's clone body has returned. His other cloned bodies have sensed that the incarnation of the devil's abyssal will has arrived in the realm of gods. Trouble, the incarnation of the will of the demonic abyss can really leave the demonic abyss. Although it may not be able to persist for long, if it kills like crazy, it will not take long to kill countless creatures. Yi Tian secretly said. Now, he can only let those humans come back from the eternal realm or the realm of gods as soon as possible, then seal the realm of endless realms and open the star dimension virtual formation. In this case, it can still withstand the attack of the incarnation of the devil's will in the abyss. As long as you persist until the incarnation of the devil's will in the abyss dissipates, it will be victory. Soon, a large number of humans have returned from the eternal realm and the realm of gods, but the speed is very slow if their cultivation level is low. Whether they can avoid the crisis depends on luck. The realm of the gods. The incarnation of the devil's abyssal will made a crazy move. With a wave of his hand, a large number of eternal kingdoms collapsed, countless creatures fell, and even the high-level peak world gods were just ants. I saw the headquarters of a top force being shattered by the incarnation of the devil's abyssal will. 05 Those high-level world gods had no hope of even escaping. Swish swish swish, the speed of the incarnation of the devil's abyssal will was too fast, and he quickly caught up with a peak world god and crushed him to death with one hand. Not long after, every part of the realm of gods was beaten to pieces. At this time, the incarnation of the devil's abyssal will became even fainter. Therefore, he stopped killing those weak creatures and focused on the headquarters of the supreme power. The supreme power, Taihao Tianchao Palace. The peak world gods here are also terrified. They also know that the devil's abyssal will is killing people crazily, and they are worried that they will be targeted. With so many supreme forces, our Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace may not be targeted. A peak world god whispered. Whatever is scary comes. Boom, a terrifying giant black hand grabbed it from the void, and at the critical moment the Thousand Sun Eternal Formation of Taihao Ocean Chaos Palace was activated. The golden light turned into an eternal light curtain, blocking the giant black hand. But the peak world gods of Taihao Tianchao Palace are very scared, because this big black hand is the incarnation of the abyssal will of the demon species. The second blow came again, and the attack power was even more terrifying. Click, the Thousand Suns Eternal Formation is about to shatter. No, these peak world gods are extremely desperate. The Thousand Suns Eternal Formation couldn't stop it from just the second blow. How could it withstand the incarnation of the devil's abyssal will? Soon, the third blow came. Boom, the Thousand Suns Eternal Formation was completely shattered. Immediately afterwards, the void split open, and the devil's abyssal will descended incarnate. Escape. They tried to escape into the death void, where they might still have hope of survival. But only a few peak world gods escaped from the passage into the void of death in time. The other peak world gods, high-level world gods, and countless creatures did not have time to escape, and were transformed by the will of the Mazong abyss. Endless creatures fell and turned into corpses. The incarnation of the devil's will in the abyss did not chase into the void of death to hunt down other peak world gods, but instead attacked other supreme forces again. This moment, all the supreme forces are in panic, lest they be targeted. 2 gates. The god of the world of Liangyi also frowned. He did not expect that the plan would fail this time. He never expected that the incarnation of the devil's abyssal will would be so terrifying. I underestimated those peak demon species, and actually let all the demon species sacrifice themselves. The god of the world of 2 rituals secretly said. Of course, the incarnation of the devil's will in the abyss can't last long as it escapes, everything will be fine. Immediately afterwards, he felt distressed. According to the plan, he asked the blood shadow puppet to kill all the peak demon species, seize all the resources, and give some resources to the other 5 supreme world gods. Most of the resources still belong to him. Then, he purchased a few more places to follow the ship, allowing several peak world gods from the 2 realms to leave here together. Unfortunately, the plan failed and he did not have time to collect resources. After the demon seed's abyssal will dissipates, it may be too late to collect resources. By then, other peak world gods will definitely collect them. Without the help of the blood shadow puppet, he will not have much advantage. As time slowly passed, 2 more supreme forces finally breached their headquarters, and only a small number of peak world gods escaped. The 4th supreme force was smart. As soon as the devil's abyssal will incarnate attacked, they immediately escaped into the void of death and directly abandoned the other world gods. However, this also allowed them to retain their peak world god fighting power, and they could still restore the strength of the supreme force in the future. Yi Tian has been opening the star dimension void sky formation. The 6 cloned bodies are fully activating this extra-dimensional formation. They have also used a large number of extra-dimensional secret treasures, such as the Star Wing's 6-armed shield. Although they are not very useful, it's okay to resist a little bit. However, he was lucky, the devil's abyssal will did not invade the human race's endless seam. After all, the world of endless seams is the new headquarters of the supreme power. The incarnation of the will of the demonic abyss will naturally invade some old supreme forces immediately, so they will not come to deal with him. When the incarnation of the devil's abyssal will attack the 5th supreme force, its power was exhausted and the incarnation dissipated. At this time, other supreme forces knew about this situation. 410. However, they did not dare to go to the demon seed abyss immediately. They were afraid that the will of the demonic abyss could be condensed into another incarnation. In that case, they would be dead. But Yi Tian was not afraid. He immediately sent a replica body to the demon seed abyss. Demon seed abyss. When Yi Tian came here, he didn't encounter any demon species. After all, almost all the demon species had been sacrificed. Even some ordinary demon species that slipped through the net and had little intelligence posed an adverse threat to him. At this time, he felt that a will was locking onto him, it should be the will of the devil's abyss. It's a pity that the opponent has no more condensed incarnations, so he can only suppress his strength and cannot deal with him personally. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Yi Tian kept traveling and soon came to the place where the battle was fought, and found the fragments of the peak demon species and the remaining treasures. Receive. Yi Tian put away the treasures one by one, and then looked for the lair of the peak demon species. He wanted to find as many resources as he could before other peak world gods arrived. As time passed, the other peak world gods finally couldn't hold it any longer and headed to the demon seed abyss. It's almost time to leave. Yi Tian quickly left and returned to endless thoughts.